Microphone check. Happy Monday, everybody. Tuesday. Starting off strong. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Hope you enjoyed your long weekend. Hopefully you're all refreshed, you're hydrated, and you've said something nice about yourself. Let's hope that that's the case. Anybody get it right on the hat today? Were we correct on that at all? Anybody? I didn't see anybody get that one right. Let me turn off the sound on my phone there too. Being a little loud. Anyways, I missed you guys terribly. I had a great weekend. You can see I got a lot of sun this weekend. We were out in the sun all week, all weekend, and it was hot as shit. It was like 110 degrees here this weekend, and I lived. But I'm happy to see all of you guys back here. I had a good weekend. I said a lot of things that made sense this weekend. Our good friend Donald Trump did not say a lot of things that made sense this weekend, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But as a reminder, we are totally crowd-funded here. There's a gift goal in the upper left-hand corner. If anything you can do to help us knock out that goal by the end of the live will be greatly appreciated. The best way to do it is by joining the Dollar Train. The Dollar Train is getting started now. You can send that to PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, or we got the Super Chats too. And Mama B, thank you for all the gifted subs this morning. Unbelievable. If you're getting a sub, if you got a free sub today, congratulations. And just know that you can always have a free sub if you have an Amazon Prime membership. You can use your Prime membership on Twitch for a free sub, and then you can go watch it with a bunch of like-minded people over there on Twitch. That's the safe space over on Twitch. YouTube, not as much of a safe space. This is where all the MAGA morons come. So if you want to talk shit, YouTube's your spot. If you don't, Twitch. And welcome everybody over here from YouTube. I'm trying to watch your chat on, or it's not YouTube, excuse me, TikTok. Trying to watch the TikTok chat as well, but that box doesn't stay open. What if I just move it over here? Is that gonna be weird?
Thanks for the sub.
It's frozen now. All right. Anyways, let's get started today. I want to kick things off first. I haven't watched this yet. Bill Burr. This is 5 minutes long. Bill Burr has a rant. Anytime a Bill Burr rant goes viral on Twitter, it's usually a good thing. So I apologize in advance if this isn't good, but I wanted to hear it for the first time with you, my closest friends, my only friends. Here's comedian Bill Burr on how white people fall for billionaires, ICE, and bosses.
Interesting race. And then sadly, I saw these clips of ICE going in and just fucking ripping these people out of their homes, and mothers and grandmothers and children screaming, no warrant. If fellow U.S. citizens are like, what are you doing? They like intimidate them, arrest them and shit. This is like Gestapo type of stuff, and it just blows my mind that there's a certain ugly segment of the American population that's enjoying watching these families getting ripped out of their homes.
Shout out to all the MAGA that are here that are enjoying watching that. He's talking about you. Just the greatest comedian, one of the greatest, top 5 comedian of all time, reminding our MAGA friends to stop being sick fucks for like 2 seconds.
And you somehow think that America is going to be better if this is done. Like, so what? So they took those people out. They're taking these brown people out that are living week to week. And somehow you feel like if they get them out of the country, your boss who's not paying you a living wage will suddenly start paying you a living wage. What would be a great thing is everybody read up on the history of these that have run these companies. They have not wanted to pay Americans a living wage ever. They've never wanted to pay us a living wage. And the only reason why they do is because there's laws. And the only reason why there is laws is because people died during protests to start unions.
Yeah, progressives. Yeah, the only reason that we have a living wage is because of progressives. Because of people that are still fighting the same fight today that they were fighting back then. And in fact, like, we've regressed. We've gone backwards now. We're now in a situation where the same rich people, on paper, it looks like they're paying more, but the wealth is so unevenly distributed that now you have most people who are working a, let's say a warehouse job, just can't afford to live. They can't afford to raise a family. They got to have roommates. You just can't afford to live. And the craziest part, and Bill Burr's pointing this out, is the amount of Republicans, the amount of MAGA who are just celebrating this, openly celebrating this. Like, oh, no, that job's so unimportant that you should not be able to make a living wage. You shouldn't be able to make a living wage just working in a warehouse. Like when your grandparents worked on an assembly line, what was the difference? Why did that deserve a living wage, but working at an Amazon warehouse doesn't? Out of curiosity.
And the fucking psychos that run these companies didn't want to pay a living wage, and eventually they took their factories out of the country so they could go back to not paying a living wage in the form of sweatshop labor.
It's amazing, like the history of this country, how Republicans, conservatives, whatever you want to call them, have been able to rewrite history into saying, like, now it's a Republican talking point that these jobs were offshored because of liberals, right? It's a very progressive thing. That's why these jobs were offshored. They were offshored by capitalists, American capitalists, to make more capital. And reshoring those jobs now has become, again, like the pattern with the GOP. Break something until it's so fucked up that people are pissed about it, and then pretend that somebody else broke it, and then come up with the dumbest possible solution to fix it. Tariffs, in this case.
And now they're eventually working their way towards this. The same billionaires that didn't want to pay in the 1800s, way back to the feudal system, they've never wanted to pay you. They don't want to pay you, and they just keep blaming people that don't look like you, that don't have any money or any sort of control over your life, and my people keep believing it. It's unfucking believable. Immigrants are not the reason why you can't make your rent. You can't make your rent because the guy that fucking employs you is not paying you enough money. He's not keeping up, or she's not keeping up with the rate of inflation. The sad fucking thing is there's enough money, there's enough food, there's enough shelter for everybody. But these super rich cunts want too much for themselves. And they're heartless.
Those are the worst types of super rich. There's like super rich, and then there's super rich cunts. And that's the worst kind of super rich, in my opinion.
They don't give a f***. And when you start to tell...
Also, how did everything else get bleeped? Except for that. I'm going to have to bleep that. How did everything else get bleeped?
Tell them, hey, you're not paying us enough money. They go, oh, look at those fucking brown people over there. If we could just get them to stop jumping over a wall or get them out of their houses.
That's right.
We could tear apart their families without a warrant. Then I would somehow magically start paying you enough money where you could live comfortably and have health insurance.
It's a never-ending cycle too, right? There's always going to be somebody else that they can scapegoat. There's always going to be someone to blame other than the people writing the checks for why those checks aren't big enough. It's always going to be somebody else's fault. Johnny, welcome. Thanks for being here. Asa Sophia said, jumping in, missed you all, and you, Jen. Oh, missed you all, and you, and Jen, my bad. And Brian said, the fact that there's bus stops outside of every Amazon warehouse tells you everything that is wrong with America. Amen. First of all, W mass transit, un-W, that all that mass transit takes you to jobs that you can't afford to purchase a car by doing.
Unreal. And I got to tell you, the fucking people that are just watching this stuff, and you don't think that eventually, if you just co-sign on an agency being able to do that, just barge into somebody's fucking house like that, just start lining people up, asking questions, no warrants, just total intimidation, right?
Bro, man, bag, shut up, dude. Like, shut up. I'm so tired of these Republicans. You sit here and you watch this and you're like, record low inflation since Trump took office. You just like repeat talking points. That's all you do. Just listen. Everything he's saying is true, dude. Everything he's saying is true. Inflation numbers are down. Yeah, who the fuck cares, though? Like, who the fuck cares if inflation's down if you can't afford to live? What if inflation was 0%? If inflation was 0% and all this stuff was still true, then who cares? That's the problem with MAGA. I played in a golf tournament yesterday full of MAGA. And there's these two guys specifically that I don't talk to very often because every time I talk to them, they just want to talk politics, but they don't know anything about politics. And they come up and they just hit me with like a barrage of Fox News talking points, Facebook talking points. And that's literally what they did yesterday. I don't even remember how the conversation started. I'm just sitting there putting, warming up for a golf tournament. And they're like, oh, looks like Joe Biden was in a coma for 4 years. I'm like, Jesus Christ, here we go. Oh, he was in a coma for 4 years. Everybody lied about Joe Biden. Everything bad. Do you guys not see what's happening? That's like the amount of close your eyes and close your ears that you have to do to just not see what's happening. Have things gotten better for people in America since Donald Trump took office? No. That's why you guys cite numbers and you don't ever cite anything else. How about the fact that our stock market crashed just because of him? Only because of him. There were no other factors. This is the only time in my life I can ever remember watching the stock market just go bloop, and it was literally one dude's fault, just one guy. You can look at it during from 2008. You can look at it from the recession that happened during COVID, and it's like we argued about it, and we argued like, how much of this was Joe Biden's fault? How much of this was the fault of supply chain? How much of this was the fault of insider trading or stock buybacks? And there's like a million different things we could point to as to why the stock market had tanked. But with this one, there's only one reason. There's just one reason, and it's Donald Trump's a goddamn idiot. That was the one reason. He doesn't know how tariffs work. He doesn't know what tariffs do. And when he puts them in place, the whole world's like, you fucking idiot. Come on, man. And then the stock market goes bloom. And you guys are like, this is really good. Well, the problem was the stock market was too inflated. There's nothing. He could walk up and kick you in the dick and you'd be like, oh, good, my balls were a little misshapen and he's knocked them back into the right place. So this actually needed to be done. I've been thinking for a long time now that I needed somebody to come up and kick me in the balls. Thank God Donald Trump is here. Already. Jen, will you reach out to our friend at TikTok? We're already getting banned for unoriginal content.
If you're signing off on that, you have to understand, do you really think that that's just going to stop there? Let's say they got all the illegal immigrants out of this country. That work still has to be done. So now who's doing that work? And what is the rich guy doing? Do you think he's going to pay American citizen wages?
Yeah, where's the stories of all the people whose wages are skyrocketing right now because we're getting rid of illegal immigration? Remember, that's what they told you would happen. If we get rid of illegal immigration, don't worry, the wages will skyrocket. Where's those stories? Have I just missed them? Are there a bunch? Yeah, short-term paid. Where are they? Where are all these billionaires suddenly paying more? They're getting a tax break now. We got the tax break. We got rid of illegal immigration. And shouldn't wages be skyrocketing right now? But they're not. They're stagnant. Okay.
Is he going to let one nickel roll out of his pocket? Has that been your experience watching these super rich people? Just out of curiosity. Anyway, it's tragic. This is just a really mean, ugly, I can't even say period, I guess exposure, that it's just brought all of these super fucking overtly racist nationalist psychos to the forefront. It's even...
That's right. Where's that trickle? Glass cranberry. Let's see the trickle. Someone show us the trickle, please. We're waiting for it. We're waiting for some trickle.
It's even happening in like stand-up comedy. It's like, it's fucking wild. You know? I don't understand. Who knew that there was this many fucking people out there that felt oppressed if they couldn't be this fucking hateful?
Nobody lets me be mean anymore.
Anyway.
We're all being canceled. All right, that's probably the end there. Thank you, Billy.
Anyway, but that doesn't mean...
And beyond this bullshit again where I have to... The sound happens every time I close it. All right, well done, Bill Burr. This is... Zamina, I don't know how you say it. Is it Zamina? Ximena. Is that how you say this? I don't know how to say that. She is a teenage 19-year-old college student from Dalton, Georgia. She was mistakenly arrested by ICE and then detained for 2 weeks. So what happened? May 5th, Zamina, I think it's Zamina, was pulled over by a Dalton. What was this? All right, I'm going to appeal that too. She was pulled over by a Dalton police officer who intended to stop another vehicle for making an illegal right-hand turn. Instead, she was mistakenly stopped, cited for making an improper turn and driving without a valid license, and booked into the county jail. Because she's undocumented, she was then transferred from local custody to ICE and held at the Stewart Detention Center in Lumpkin, Georgia, where she spent more than 2 weeks in ICE custody. However, after reviewing dash cam footage, Dalton authorities determined she had been wrongfully stopped. All the traffic charges against her were dismissed. So that's the whole story. Here's what she had to say.
You worry about your family's future?
It's pronounced Jimena. Thank you. Jimena. Thank you.
It does, only because I know that even having the right paperwork, it doesn't mean anything anymore. With the presidency we have now, even having the right paperwork could mean deportation.
And you touched on it a little bit earlier in Spanish, talking about how it doesn't even matter if you have papers. If you're Spanish, you're getting pulled over. Can you just talk about a little bit about it?
Yes, I think I heard stories in Stewart where there had cops went into their house, ICE went into their house and took them. And it's just very unfair. And just being Hispanic, you're a target. And I think right now people should fear being deported or being pulled over by a cop just because you're Hispanic.
And how does life in Dalton compare to life in Stewart?
Completely life-changing. It's a whole lot. It switches your world. It's unexplainable.
And can you even imagine a life in Mexico?
I can, but it'd be very different. Like y'all know, I got here whenever I was 4. I love Mexico because I'm from there, but it's a country I'm not familiar with. So going back to Mexico would be very scary.
Yeah. That's what we're doing. This is the same shit that happened in Arizona. We're just pulling people over. We're just trying to figure out ways to catch people here illegally, even if we break the law to do it. And that's the main thing that I think Republicans and Bill Burr was touching on that. Like, you guys just want to be cruel. Like, you're obsessed with being cruel. So it doesn't matter if you violate somebody's rights. It doesn't matter if you pull them over without cause. It doesn't matter if you cite them for a traffic violation that did not happen. As long as you get to be really mean to an immigrant, it's fine. We'll just overlook all of that all the time. Read a couple comments here. Bradley says, "What did Cinderella say to Prince Charming?" Want to see if it fits. Thank you. Charles said, "This is for the trickle." Thank you very much. I think I got all those ones. Let me double check here. By the way, I really appreciated Hamina there saying, like, can you imagine a life in Mexico? Yeah, it's really not that bad. Mexico's looking more and more appealing. I've said it before, but I would probably be there now if I did not have a child who lived in this country. I would be living in Mexico. Here's just more of the MAGA cruelty. This is on News Nation, which is not a real news organization, but they do bring people on. They brought on, this is a journalist from this is Leland Levert, his show. He brought on a South African journalist named Chidi Madis to ask her questions and mostly just steamroll her. But she held her ground and did very well holding her ground. Just if you missed it last week somehow, if you lived under a rock, the South African delegation, including the South African president, who is right here, came to the White House to talk to Donald Trump and let him know that there was not a white genocide happening in South Africa. And Donald Trump held up a bunch of fucking papers of stuff that somebody had printed out and forced them to watch a video. And when they told him, all of them told him this wasn't happening, he's like, no, it's happening because I have these papers. So naturally, News Nation, seems to, at least this guy, Leland, seems to only want to defend Donald Trump at all times, had this discussion.
The issue is whether or not, I guess, whites are being targeted disproportionately. Is that what you're taking issue with?
No, that would be the claim. The issue is that the claim is falsehood. White people are not being targeted, Leland. Nobody.
So when
crime is
Julius,
experienced by
when
everybody,
Julius
not just
Manella
white people.
was chanting, kill, kill, you have to kill to be part of a revolution, on and on, he was talking about killing blacks or killing whites?
Do you need the context of what that song is? Because you can't take out the context of what that is. That is actually important.
Do you need the context? Nah, I don't need that. Nah, I don't really. That's not going to be helpful for me. I don't want any additional context. What I need is just to yell at you. The genocide is real. Shut up. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not real. Show me one piece of evidence that it's real. Just one. I've looked everywhere. The only evidence that it's real is a bunch of you like incel Nazis who think it's cool and want to be victims all the time. You guys are the only ones. You're the only ones saying that it's real, and nobody trusts you because you're informed by Nick Fuentes.
Cannot be that he's giving an instruction when that's not the fact. I think we do need to take into consideration the context. What he's chanting is an anti-apartheid song that was sang by leaders in the lead up to apartheid. The back and forth today about that song is whether or not it's relevant in modern day South Africa. Should we still be singing that song? If there's a grouping in the country that feels otherwise.
How can somebody be defending singing a song that's talking about killing other people?
I'm not defending singing the song. I'm saying to you that's the conversation that's.
So don't you think white farmers would be scared when they heard that song?
And that's the.
I mean, look, to my fellow whites, can we just stop trying to be victims at all times? Can we just stop? I get it. I maybe it's like you just feel left out. Like you feel left out, not being able to be a victim. Maybe it's like your life isn't going as well as you thought it was going or going to go. And so now you're looking for a reason to blame other than like your own mediocrity, or perhaps it's capitalism. Perhaps it's the fact that we live in a completely rigged economic system. But you guys don't ever want to admit that. And this is the beauty of what capitalism and what oligarchy has done for the United States. Is it's taken a bunch of people who have every opportunity in the world to ascend in America, and even those of us who have been born into privilege, who have that ability to ascend, even us, like it's even hard for us now. And now that it's hard for us too, we want to be victims. We're like, can we get in on this victim shit? But you don't want to blame capitalism because that's not tough. You can't blame capitalism because you got to be cool. You got to be tough to make it in capitalism. It's a zero-sum game. And so you have to just blame immigrants. You got to figure out some way to be a victim. You can't just look at the system and be like, oh shit, it's got to us now? Even we're being held down now? Maybe the system's not that great. But you don't want to admit that. So now it's just like, there's totally a genocide happening in South Africa for white people. All right.
Question that's being put to Julius Malema. I said to you that conversation is happening. It's put to Julius Malema that when you do this is what we worry about. But when you look at how long he's been singing the song and whether it correlates with the numbers of farmers under attack, particularly white people, it's not there. People who are being attacked on the farms are farm dwellers and farm workers. That's also a reality that's got to be.
White farmers are not being targeted or white farmers are not being killed, why are so many who have big land holdings willing to give up their entire lives to come to America?
Where are they?
See, do you understand? Like, first of all, bad question. If they're not being killed, why are they willing to give up large land holdings? I don't know. Why is the only option that they're being genocided? And what happened? How did they all escape? How'd they all escape so easily? If the government was doing this genocide, one thing I know about historically when genocides take place is the government performing the genocide isn't usually real keen on letting people out of the country to go tell their story. Why weren't they stopped? Nobody tried to keep them in South Africa? They just let them go? Yeah, go tell the world. We don't give a shit. We think that's what happened? This genocidal regime here is just like, yeah, you can kind of come and go as you please. It's no big deal. Free speech, that's fine. Are you a journalist in South Africa who is talking about this? Are you being imprisoned? You're not? No, okay. They're doing what normal human beings do, where they're just like, can we just talk about this? Can we just have a conversation about whether or not this genocide is happening? And we got Donald Trump and the whites in America like, no, we're not talking about it. It's absolutely happening. That's the way it is. We're not going to discuss it any further.
Show them to me.
We had them land.
Those 49 people are not farmers. There are plenty of reports from South Africa that many of those are not farmers. Those are chances. Please, again, show me the evidence. Those are people taking an opportunity. America's giving them an opportunity.
You're saying
they're not farmers.
I'm just trying to figure this out. You're saying that your president has not in any way targeted whites, even though Elon Musk, who was there.
They're all admitting it, too. This is my favorite part. During Trump's entire sit-down with the South African government, he kept referencing this friend. Oh, I have a good friend who told me all about that. Bro, just say Elon. We all know who like, you're either talking about Elon Musk or David Sachs. But everybody else is quoting Elon. We all know what this is. Elon just said it was happening, and so everybody believed him. And that's why this happened.
Can't get a license for his business.
He was where?
In the Oval Office.
He was in the Oval Office. He's never been to South Africa. When was the last time Elon Musk was in South Africa?
But he can't get.
When was the last time he was in South Africa? His father, Elon Musk's father.
I'm not talking about when he was there.
No, hold on. I want to also make you understand one thing.
The accusation is that many whites cannot get licenses to do business, among them Elon Musk.
Elon Musk, who hasn't been in South Africa for decades. There's no evidence that he knows about the goings-on in South Africa. Like, I lived there once, so I know everything. Okay. That's the level that it takes for Republicans to believe something. Elon lived there once, and so what he said is true. Now, their whole government and everybody, boots on the ground, everybody in South Africa says otherwise. But Elon Musk says that it's happening, so we believe Elon Musk.
So we're being forced to undermine our transformative laws. We must be okay with the South Africa, with the majority that is denied of their own land, with the majority is deprived of access to economic transformations and means of production. We must be okay and not move the needle in any way to try and fix that. We must be okay with South Africa being labeled the most unequal country in the world and not trying to do anything to rectify that. Because that's what that argument says.
No, but the fact that
there are laws.
The fact of the matter is
there must be bent for an individual.
Yeah, the guy that dresses up like Diablo and dies playing the tutorial while claiming to be ranked #1. Yeah, that guy. That's the guy.
No,
that is what the question is.
But if you make laws that target a certain race, don't.
But there are none of those. Where are those?
Also, Derek, he wasn't at the press conference with Trump, but Trump was citing him. He's aware. Let's stop that. He wasn't even there. That you guys are even bad at defending shit. This is what republicanism is. Figure out a way to defend something even if it's not true. I'm sorry. Did you see Elon at that? It wasn't a press conference. It was an Oval Office meeting. Did you see Elon there? Because he wasn't there. So you're wrong again. Not only you're blindly defending him with something you just made up in your head.
And you're calling me as a journalist from South Africa, and you're putting those to me. I'm asking you for the proof. Donald Trump today, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to lecture a little.
No, Derek, he doesn't seem to know what's happening. He doesn't seem to. Why do you think Elon Musk knows what's happening, but everybody in the South African government, except for that 3% of people who are seen on a video, except for those people, everybody else says this is happening.
But Donald Trump today,
or excuse me, isn't happening.
Called us in there saying he's got proof of a genocide. South Africa's gone to the ICJ saying that they believe Israel is committing a genocide in Palestine. But they put evidence on the table. They put evidence on the table. A chant is not proof of genocide.
Yes, it is.
A private monument with fake crosses and not actual grave sites is not proof of a genocide. I don't believe that I'm being called in here to defend the indefensible. Those things aren't facts.
Okay.
Donald Trump did not put facts on the table.
You say that. We obviously have the president. Thank you very much.
You say that? We have the president. We have the president. Yeah, historically, was Elon there or not? Let's see. I see people saying he was there. I haven't seen him there. Let's see. Elon Musk, we can go. You said he was behind the couch? I've never seen I could be wrong.
Of millions of cases that now exist. So,
sorry. Let's see. I don't see Elon there. Is this the full press conference? Let's see.
Who's another really, we call him really a great golfer too, Ernie, right?
Let's see when they show behind the... All right, this is a shot from behind.
And we've given it to them. So we're in the process.
I don't see him here. This other side, on the other side, is the South African delegation with like Ernie Els.
Finalizing
looking
this
good, right?
Looking very good.
No, we have to thank you for even those efforts because the African continent, particularly SADC, our Southern African Development Community.
I don't know. I don't see him anywhere. Do you guys see him? Oh, he is there. Okay, there he is. All right. I was wrong about that. Elon was there. Why did they ask Elon? Why did they ask Elon? Why'd nobody ask Elon for evidence then? He was doing his weird ketamine head rolling in the background. How come Elon didn't speak up? Is this Marge's boyfriend there too? Okay. But we're totally just going to trust the Elon over the government.
Thank you very much.
This fucking thing. I don't know. Somebody's got to tell me why this does this. Why I have to like start the video to close it. Jen, did I just hear you?
Yep.
Hey.
Hey.
Okay.
Do we
high
really
energy
want
this morning.
Elon to speak?
What's that?
I said, do we really want Elon to speak? Is that what we really want? I mean, if he's quiet, I'm okay with it.
No, I'm just wondering why people think that Elon being there like makes it correct. It's a weird thing.
No idea.
All right. Good morning.
Morning. How was your weekend?
Go ahead, do your thing. Do your thing, Jen.
So just so you guys know, Jay loves small talk. So if you ever get a chance to chat with him, small talk's his favorite. All right. So we're back today. We took yesterday off for in honor of Memorial Day. But we're back. So we're glad everyone's here. Just want to remind everybody, if you want to look up in that top left-hand corner, that is the remaining balance of our gift goal. We do the show each day, Monday through Friday, from 9:30 to 1 Pacific Standard Time. So if you guys could help us knock out that goal, we would really, really appreciate it. Everybody that's on TikTok, if you guys could like the live, share it, because we've been restricted right now. So if you want to share it with some people, get more people over in the TikTok chat. If you haven't subscribed to us on Twitch and YouTube, please do so. You could use your Amazon Prime sub for Twitch. On YouTube, subscription is free. We've also got 4 different memberships if you'd like to help support us that way. This is our job, as much as you might disagree that it's not. This is how we keep things going. So if you guys disagree with RTP and you would like to debate, how you do that, if you look at the Venmo, it's the same username as my Discord. If you want to add me on Discord, send me a message. I can bring you up to talk to me in real time. So it's Jen, Jenn, DUBB, the number 1, and you can come in and have a conversation. Also check out our link tree. We're on most social media platforms, and we've got some merchandise. So yeah, if we knock out, we go till 1 o'clock, so we got a couple hours left of the show. So Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats all go towards knocking out that remaining balance on the gift goal. I saw a fireman releasing a bunch of female sheep on the side of the road to eat all the brush in the hills. I asked him why they were all female, and he said, only you can prevent forest fires.
Okay. That's good. Thanks, Jen. William, the money goes towards Jen and myself to keep this show going, and yes, we do pay taxes on this. All of this, if you're going to get paid online, you have to pay taxes on that. That's how this works. So it's how we get paid. Thank you very much for that. Derek, I apologize if I called you a liar. I don't know if you're talking about me or not. But I did not know Elon was there. I watched that whole press conference. He never said a word, so I didn't know that he was there. And I apologize. And if that, I don't know what that changes, to be honest. I have no clue what that changes, other than I was just wrong that he was there. The argument stands. Trump legitimately just like showed pictures from like this, the pictures that he was holding up. Those were from the Congo. Those were from February 3rd in the Congo. And those victims were killed by the Rwandan-backed like M23 rebels. Even what Donald Trump was holding up, like I understand if you think I got something wrong, that's great. You should hold me accountable. When I get things wrong, people should tell me that I get them wrong, and I should apologize. But Trump held up articles that had absolutely nothing to do with South Africa, nothing, and he positioned them as facts. So I that's all I'm saying. Like. I don't know why we would trust Elon Musk. Even if Elon Musk had stood up there and said those things, why would Elon Musk be an expert on this? He hasn't been in South Africa for years. He might know some people in South Africa. But you think somebody living in South Africa saying something makes it so? And Trump's evidence that he presented, not only was most of it not from South Africa, but the stuff from South Africa that he showed, everybody there in the South African delegation said, yes, those people are a problem. And yes, those people are at least rhetorically targeting white people, but the government is not. The claim is that the South African government is targeting white people, committing a genocide, and stealing their land. And that's not true. It's absolutely not true. And even the deaths that have come at the hands of attackers have overwhelmingly been black people. There have been some white people who've died, but overwhelmingly it has been black people who died. You'd have to explain how it's a white genocide when more black people are dying when they're targeting farms than white people. How is this an attempted white genocide? I don't think it is. And if evidence shows differently, let's just see the evidence. I'll change my mind. I'm anti-genocide, believe it or not, just regardless of the color of their skin. But I do think that that maybe us as white people sometimes are a little too quick to feel like we're being picked on. It's a pretty good world for us. We have a lot of advantages that other people don't have. Let's not try and do like the victim complex thing. You just want to out-victim everybody else. Things are going cool in Texas. Texas is following Oklahoma's lead, and they're trying to force religion down people's throats. They are putting the 10 Commandments in schools now. The rule is in Texas that teachers are required to post the 10 Commandments in the classroom if somebody donates the 10 Commandments. That way it's not taxpayer funded. Like, that's their way to try and get around this. They're like, we will require it, but it has to be donated. Of course churches are going to donate that, right? Like, of course they are. The problem is not the taxpayer funding. The problem is, why are we putting the 10 Commandments in a school, like in a class? Can we talk about it? Can we just talk about the fact that these 10 rules were given to a guy who went up on the mountain by himself and then came back down with 10 rules? And they're like, who told you that? He's like, a bush. This bush was on fire. This bush told me that these are the rules now. Okay. All right. And then thousands of years later, we better put that in schools. Everybody needs to follow these rules. It's historically accurate. Here's James Tallarico, who's everybody on the left loves him. James Tallarico is Christian. James Tallarico is gay, and he makes that work. And kudos to him for making that work. But he's also really, really good at exposing how dumb these bills in Texas are.
What is the fourth commandment?
It's U.S. history. That's right, Tiff. Sorry.
Keep the Sabbath.
That was not quick.
Keep the Sabbath.
Part of keeping the Sabbath holy is not working on the Sabbath.
That is, yeah.
What day is the Jewish Sabbath?
It is on Saturday.
And what day is it today?
It is Saturday. Here we are.
The Christian Sabbath is what day?
Sunday, in honor of the day that Jesus rose from the dead.
And we're scheduled to give this bill a final vote on what day of the week?
It's ironic, isn't it?
Bye, building builder Kip. See you forever. Mods, will you take care of that?
Isn't it?
Would you be willing to postpone your bill so that we're not breaking the 10 Commandments by working on the Jewish or Christian Sabbath?
I love that you said that, because
you're saying that you'd rather tell people to follow the 10 Commandments than follow it yourself?
I would have rather have had this bill passed the other day when it was time.
We as a legislature are about to force every teacher in the state to post the 10 Commandments in their classrooms.
If they are donated.
Do members of the Texas legislature follow the 10 Commandments?
So again, this bill is about honoring our historical, educational, and judicial heritage.
Who's going to tell her that the 10 Commandments isn't a part of our heritage? Who's going to tell her what country that was in? Who's going to tell her what continent that was? Why are they allowed to just stand up in front of a microphone and call things history that never happened? Never fucking happened. Why are they allowed to do this? Why do Christians allow other Christians to do this? This is not part of American history. What are you talking about? I've had similar experiences after I ingested mushroom pizza. I too have seen bushes that appeared to be burning. It is not historical, though. It's just what happened when I had mushroom pizza.
With the displaying of the 10 Commandments.
The 9th commandment is thou shalt not bear false witness. Are you aware of any legislators who have lied about anything?
That is, you know, there might be one coming up in a minute if you keep talking. We'll see.
The 7th commandment is thou shalt not commit adultery.
Yes.
Do you think that members of the legislature should focus more on trying to follow the 10 Commandments rather than telling others to follow them?
William, you got to get it together, man. I don't know if you need to go fire one off or something, but you're talking like, why are we talking about transgender people? It's always Republicans, always in the chat, just nonstop. We're just talking about transgender people nonstop. Go fire one off, come back to us, and be an adult, okay? I get it. I don't know if you're edging right now. I don't know what the plan is here, but shut the fuck up for a second. Go fire it off, come back, and you can follow along with the rest of us.
I am, you know, it is incumbent on all of us to follow God's law.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not incumbent on all of us to follow God's law. It's not. It's not part of our rules here. Let me skip through this. I want to show you this. Social Security. One of the things that we've talked about before is that where Republicans can't cut funding, especially like entitlement spending, stuff like Social Security, what they'll do is they'll break the system instead. They'll make it unusable. Here's Jen Psaki. Cue everybody in the chat. Talking about MSNBC and Jen Psaki and Joe Biden. Get it out, guys. Before we play a clip of Jen Psaki, do the MSDNC thing. This is Joe Biden's spokesperson. This is fake news. All the mainstream media. Get all that out real quick, and then we'll play the clip so you can listen to it. I'll give you 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, we got that all out. Now we're going to listen to Jen Psaki play an audio of what happens when you try and get the Social Security system to just function properly.
If you have an issue with your Social Security and call the Social Security Administration to ask about it, this is who picks up.
How can I help you today?
Can I speak to an agent?
To better serve you, please briefly explain the reason for your call. How can I help you today?
I didn't get a check in April.
The 2025 Cost of Living Adjustment, or COLA, for Social Security and Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, beneficiaries is 2.5%. The standard Medicare Part B premium is $185 per month. If you're finished, feel free to hang up.
Close. It was close. It was really close. So close on that one.
Otherwise, how can I help you today?
That's enough to make you crazy. I mean, that was Social Security's new artificial intelligence chat bot. It is not particularly intelligent, it seems. So a week ago, a reporter from the Washington Post called the Social Security hotline.
It is just as coherent as any Republican, though. That's basically what talking to a Republican is. You ask it a question, and then it just spouts out a talking point, just a pre-programmed answer. That answer doesn't need to have anything to do with the question that you asked. It's just pre-programmed. You'll see it tonight as we go live with Admir tonight. I'm going to see you guys all day today, but you'll see it tonight when we ask Republicans questions, and out comes a pre-programmed message that has nothing to do with the question that was asked.
Hotline, that's what you just heard, with the very basic issue. She didn't get a check. She wanted to speak to an agent. This is something lots of people are experiencing. The reporter wanted to know how long it would take for the chatbot to help with that very simple issue.
I didn't get a check in April, and I want to speak to an agent.
You can get Social Security retirement benefits and work at the same time. Say agent for additional...
Get a job! That's what it said. Why don't you go to work instead? Stop trying to get what we owe you.
Assistance. If you're finished, feel free to hang up. Otherwise, how can I help you today?
Agent.
For faster service, please say the reason for your call. How can I help you today?
I didn't get my April check and I want to speak to an agent.
We're back at it.
The 2025 cost of living adjustment, or COLA.
I mean, that is maddening. And not only does Social Security already use that AI chatbot for its national phone number, it's planning to roll out that automated chatbot to all of its field offices by this summer.
Ah, good. They're just replacing American jobs with AI, and the AI never fucking works. Rory and John, thank you very much for joining the Dollar Train. Alex said Caroline is so racist she has separate entrance for black people. I saw that. I don't know about that one. I've seen the clip. Let me just say this. I'll be fair to our Republicans who are here. I've seen the clip. It's clear that Caroline Leavitt points to a black person who's of guard, and she's done it multiple times. I think it's unclear why she's doing it. So I'll just say that. Maybe I don't have the context on it. I don't know. I'm not convinced by that she is trying to remove somebody simply because they're black. And I think that that's the kind of shit that MAGA does. And when MAGA does it, we would be upset and we would call that shit out. I don't like when we do that shit too. I still think you can make that assumption if you want. But if we're going to publicly say that, I think we need a little more evidence that she's being racist than just a out of context clip where we're not really sure what she's getting at. Jeremy says, I just hope one day people will wake up and stop eating the scraps and smoke screens from Trump. He doesn't care about you unless you are a millionaire. A good point. And 6 Cents Amelia said, good morning. Thank you, RTP Talks. Great to have you, Marion. Thank you also for joining the Dollar Train. I hadn't seen a breakdown of this. We've covered this story before, but I think it's just a good refresher. Some of you may remember, I believe it was the UN Security Council. I believe they're the ones that brought this to our attention. But a few months ago, there was a group of ambulances that were coming through Israel, through Palestine, to give aid to the Palestinians. And they were caught up in gunfire, and they all died. And the Israelis basically were like, you know what? They didn't have their lights on. They weren't communicating with us. We weren't sure. And so we opened fire to protect ourselves. And that was the Israeli line. That's what they said. They said they weren't communicating. We didn't know who they were. They didn't have their lights on. Well, now we have video. And now we know that Israel's lying. And here's the explanation.
It is so interesting how badly Israel up on this. You had these Palestinian ambulances and medical workers driving through the night to get to people in need. And they get ambushed by Israeli soldiers. Israel said, hey, we saw some vehicles driving at night. They didn't have their lights on. They didn't have sirens on. And they were driving very suspiciously, so we took action. They basically killed these people in the vehicles. They dug shallow graves in the sand, and they buried these bodies. But the dumb left the guy's mobile phone in his pocket. And when aid workers went in days later, they found that phone and they found that footage. The footage clearly shows the sirens were on.
You can see the sirens are on. Clearly the sirens are on. You'll also hear communication via the radio. Not only were they communicating, the sirens were also on. Obviously, those are like ambulances, right?
You can hear them identifying themselves, and you can hear this paramedic saying, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadur Rasulullah. There's no God but Allah, and the Prophet Muhammad is his messenger. He's making his shahada as he's ready to meet his creator, and that's exactly what happened. Him and all of his colleagues are shot dead in what was believed to be execution style. Israel clearly lied. Yet the media say, Israel appears to have made a mistake. Appears to have? They did!
Like who do we have there? We had the BBC.
Mistake?
I don't know who that is. That looks like Reuters.
A mistake is dropping a cup of water. This is a crime. The actual headline is, Israel lied about war crime. We would never know about that story if it wasn't for that paramedic's mobile phone buried in a shallow grave. One mobile phone gave us access to the biggest story of 2025.
Just another reminder, fuck Benjamin Netanyahu and fuck the IDF. And fuck what Israel is doing to the Palestinians. I don't think that can be said enough times, but fuck them. But back to America here, back to corruption.
Just hours before
back to the most corrupt administration in the history of our country. Donald Trump is handing out pardons that are obviously paid for, and he's handing them out to some of the most corrupt people in our country. You want people to trust the police? Hold the police accountable. This is not holding police accountable. This does nothing to make Americans think things are less corrupt. This is former Culpeper County Sheriff in Virginia, now being pardoned by Trump. Listen to what he did. Somebody explain to me why this guy needs a pardon.
Well, just hours before he was due to report to federal prison, former Culpeper County Sheriff Scott Jenkins received a full and unconditional pardon from President Donald Trump. The president announced it on Truth Social. A jury found Jenkins guilty back in December in a bribes for badges scheme. The judge sentenced him.
I dare a single Republican to watch this, to shut the fuck up about Joe Biden and just watch something. Just watch this and decide, is this good or is this bad? You don't have to say Joe Biden. You don't have to play whataboutism. You can just watch this and decide, was this good or was this bad? This is bad. Everybody agrees this is bad. If you don't agree this is bad, I'd love to talk to you about why this is good.
To 10 years in prison. The News 4 I-team first reported the federal investigation into Jenkins before he was indicted. Today, the I-team's Ted Oberg tells us the former lawman now will not spend a single day behind bars.
Since his conviction, former Sheriff Scott Jenkins has maintained his innocence and campaigned for President Donald Trump's attention, saying on at least one podcast, if he could only explain the full story, he's fairly certain the president would understand. Jenkins says he was targeted by the Biden Justice Department for his outspoken advocacy for the Second Amendment and his willingness to...
Well, yeah, it's the playbook, and you guys fall for it every time. I was targeted because I talk about the Second Amendment. Shut up, dude. Everybody on the right talks about the Second Amendment, and nobody knew who the fuck you were. Anybody ever heard of the Sheriff Culpeper? No, what was his name? That was the county. Sheriff Scott Jenkins? Anybody ever heard of this guy before he was caught? No, nobody cared about him. Here's what he really did.
To deputize thousands of auxiliary deputies to get around possible gun restrictions. It's unclear what ultimately got the White House's attention. During his trial last year, the jury saw photos and video of what prosecutors said showed Jenkins accepting cash and checks from people who were...
You're seeing these videos. They're literally handing him cash, literally handing him checks. And what they're doing is, in order to get around any gun restrictions, he deputizes people. And if you're a deputy, obviously you're allowed to carry, right? Thousands of people he deputized, none of them with virtually none of them with law enforcement credentials. He just said, pay me 75 grand and I'll make you a deputy and then you can carry a gun. 75,000. How is this good? He's just openly taking bribes and it's on camera, him taking bribes from people.
And given deputy badges, allowing them to carry firearms, and some of them testified they hoped it would get them out of speeding tickets. None had any training, and few did any work for the sheriff's office, according to prosecutors at trial. The payments, the jury agreed, were bribes, and they ranged from $5,000 to $20,000. Jurors heard multiple audio recordings taken by an FBI informant of Jenkins discussing the payments, including some from Rick Rahim, a convicted felon.
I said 75,000. It was up to 25,000.
Jenkins not only deputized, but helped restore his right to carry a gun, too. Rahim was one of 3 men who pleaded guilty to bribing Jenkins. The jury saw an FBI...
So there's people in prison, or people who got plea deals but have a record, who admitted what they did. They got in trouble. No pardon for them. They've admitted that they were corrupt. They've admitted that they bribed somebody. The jury obviously had no choice but to convict him of taking bribes. And now Trump is saying, like, oh, this is just a good guy. This is unfair.
Analysis of Jenkins' finances. According to the FBI, Jenkins was spending beyond his means, and their analysis showed that money Jenkins said was given as a campaign contribution went instead to Jenkins' personal accounts. As he was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison, a federal judge told Jenkins, the jury determined you are a criminal, adding, you sold badges to wealthy men who thought they were above the law. Your actions undermined the public trust. Jenkins didn't say anything in court or to News 4 as he left that day, a convicted felon at that point, facing a decade in prison. Now that prison sentence won't be served. Our calls and emails to Jenkins' newly appointed appeals attorney were not returned. I'm Ted Oberg for the News 4 IT.
All right. So this was how Trump positioned this. So now that you've seen what happened, I wanted to give you the details first. Here's what Trump said about Scott Jenkins. So Sheriff Scott Jenkins, his wife Patricia, and their family have been dragged through hell by a corrupt and weaponized Biden DOJ. In fact, during his trial, when Sheriff Jenkins tried to offer exculpatory evidence to support himself, the Biden judge, Robert Ballou, refused to allow it, shut him down, and then went on a tirade. He just said, yeah. As we have seen in federal, city, and state courts, radical left or liberal judges allow into evidence what they feel like, not what is mandated into the Constitution of rules of rules of evidence. The sheriff is a victim of an overzealous Biden Department of Justice. Even if let's just say they didn't like him and so they targeted this guy, committed crimes, obvious corruption, obvious. So obvious that the jury and again, the move by Republicans is to blame the judge. The judge doesn't determine whether or not you are guilty. The jury does. And the jury decided this guy's absolutely guilty. Are they offering, by the way, any of this exculpatory evidence? What would the exculpatory evidence be? You have a bunch of people who admit that they gave him money so that he would deputize them. What would the exculpatory evidence be? What would be a scenario where Scott Jenkins had every right to do this, or he should have been allowed to do this? What evidence could you possibly provide? This is such an open and shut case. He's a wonderful person who is persecuted by the radical left monsters and left for dead. This is why I, as President of the United States, see fit to end his unfair sentence and grant Sheriff Jenkins a full and unconditional pardon. He will not be going to jail tomorrow, but instead have a wonderful and productive life. Now, even for the Republicans who were like, Joe Biden gave pardons. Yeah, I didn't like those either. I think pardons are woefully overused. I think pardons get used. I don't know why frankly, I don't know why the fuck the president has pardon power. If we're being honest, I have no clue why we have given the president the ability to pardon people with no oversight. They can just do it. I don't know why we do that. I think it's one of the dumbest parts of our law. But if we're going to pardon people, can we at least call balls and strikes when it's somebody who obviously committed a crime? If you don't like the pardon of Hunter Biden, I get that. I probably agree with you. I understand why Joe Biden pardoned Hunter, but it was based on him believing that this incoming administration would go after his son and his family where Joe Biden thought they were innocent. If you hate that, that's fine. You can hate that. I don't like it myself. But this is crazy. This one's so easy. This one is so easy to see how obviously corrupt this is. This guy was selling to only people who are wealthy. Why is it that everybody Trump pardons just happens to be a rich person who fucked over poor people? I think we're up to something like, I want to say it's almost $2 billion now that have been pardoned. $2 billion that should have gone back into the hands of victims. Trump has pardoned people. They no longer have to pay back their victims because Trump just gives them power. The Nikola guy. All these scammers, crypto scammers, Wall Street scammers. The list of people that Trump has pardoned who just give him a couple $1 million and then he pardons them and then their victims never get paid back. And we can't call a spade here. We can't just look at this and say, that's bad. It's sick. Nobody's been as openly corrupt as this. We can play whataboutism all we want. I think there is a significant difference between pardoning a member of your family for, by the way, what was Hunter Biden accused of? Tax fraud and lying on a registration form for his to get a weapon. That's it. That's what he was accused of. So is it really that corrupt? Like Trump has been avoiding tax. You guys called Trump's tax fraud charges a weaponization of the Department of Justice. When Trump does tax fraud, why are we even doing this? Everybody does tax fraud. When Hunter does it, he should be in jail for the rest of his life. I just would like some consistency out of you folks. Just one of these days. All right, let's see this. I didn't know this was going to happen. Apparently, Mr. Jones has posted an apology, and we're going to watch it because I want to see how good this apology is. 2 minutes.
Hello, TikTok.
2 minutes of apology, Jones. I don't know about that, but let's see.
The tough fam. I know that my absence seems like I've been running from having the conversation.
You have been.
And in some aspects, I honestly have. Because I just don't want anybody else to be harmed. But even more so than that, under advice of legal counsel, there's some things that have been discussed.
Bro, this dude doesn't. This is such a fucking lie. This is such a fucking bad apology already. Under the advice of legal counsel. Okay, well, if the advice of legal counsel is don't admit to your crimes, then that's the problem that we have here. Under the advice of legal counsel, I don't want to be held accountable for my crimes. This is bad already. Sorry. I'm not being very open-minded. I'll try and be a little more open-minded.
In these lives that I am not at liberty to discuss at this time. However, I will be able to discuss them here in the near future. Why I'm making this video is because, one, I would like to apologize for all those that have been harmed by things that I've said, done, my actions. But more importantly than that, I want it to be understood that NORAD, Amanda, has been nothing, and I mean nothing but an amazing person, nothing but an amazing supporter of myself, of people in the Tough Fam, and her fellow fans of fuckery. And anything that I'm being accused of, they have nothing to do with any of it. They've been nothing but a stand-up, upright citizen. And I am truly, truly, truly apologetic for any harm that has come to them. And I ask you, please, for their sake and the sake of their children, please allow me to bear the brunt of this. This is on me. The only person that needs accountability in this situation is myself and no one else. I know a lot of people are disappointed. I know a lot of people are confused. And again,
I don't think anybody's confused anymore, bud. You're just a liar and a grifter. This is dog shit. This is absolute fucking dog shit.
Discuss this in greater detail. I absolutely will make myself available to do so.
Oh, yeah, bullshit. Tell that to my phone calls with him. Tell that to my phone calls. Like, are we going to release my phone calls? This guy's so full of shit. He should never come back to TikTok. What Jones did is he used his community and he used fundraisers and he took money from fundraisers and he put it in his own pocket. That's what he did. He took tens of thousands of dollars and put it in his own pocket when he said he was helping the community. And he bought he rented a big ass house and he went on trips and he bought himself nice clothes and nice apparel, all the while saying this was about the community. And he went to woman and he said, "Hey baby, I got you. Don't worry, the community's got you." While he's out here apologizing to his girlfriend, NORADs, on the low, he's hitting up people and be like, "Hey, I got you. Don't worry, me and NORADs are in an open relationship. I'm poly." NORADs didn't know that. I asked her point blank, "Did you know that Jones, while you were together, was telling everybody that you were poly?" "No, I didn't know that." This bullshit, like, "I'm so sorry," and this voice, bro. We've been asking you. I'll fuck it. Look at my. Here's my messages. We'll just show them. Like, where's this? Where's my response? How long am I going to be left on red when I said, dude, it's been days. The community you built is all fighting with each other now and you're still hiding. You got to come face the music. I text him every single day. "When are you going to show up, Jones? When are you going to face the music?" And he puts this up. This dude's a coward. He's an absolute coward. Should not be trusted.
Meanwhile, understand that NORAD, that Amanda, is free and clear.
You know what, though? To be honest, I don't know if Amanda is free and clear or not, but the very fact that he's making this video makes me question that more. If I was NORADs, I'd be like, don't talk about me. Nobody believes you anymore. The mere fact that he's saying this about her makes me now question.
Truly sorry. Again, they've been nothing but an amazing human being and supportive of all things that the Tough Fam tried to accomplish.
What'd you try to accomplish? You just stole from people. You didn't try to accomplish anything. Is what's scummy about this dude This is what's scummy about this dude. I hope that if he ever comes back to TikTok, I hope every one of you goes in his chat and just blasts him. This guy should never be trusted with any money ever again. This is not somebody that is safe to the community. This isn't his community. He just stole from him. He just promised the world, gave nothing, lied to everybody that ever did business with him, stole from everybody who ever did business with him. It's trash. It's a trash apology, Jones.
And they should be allowed to move on in peace. Thank you.
Yeah, it's trash, dude. Okay. Cool, Jones. Cool. He sounds like Trump. He is Trump, dude. He is Trump. The only difference between him and Trump is that, like, he didn't. But even then, he's like, I'm going to make this apology video. What did he apologize for? Anybody want to tell me what he apologized for in that video? It's called that's an apology video. I want to apologize. I'm sorry. What's this called? What's the title of the video? I'm sorry.
Hello, Tick.
I know. Failed you. I'm sorry I failed you. Not I'm sorry that I lied. Not I'm sorry that I stole from you. Not I'm sorry that I manipulated. Not I'm sorry that every time anybody accused me of something, I ruined their fucking career. Not I'm sorry because I tried to do a fundraiser for the Umbrella Brigade, and then I stole all the money from the Umbrella Brigade. And then instead of admitting that I stole money from the Umbrella Brigade, I just trashed them everywhere. By the way, if you don't know who the Umbrella Brigade is, it is a non-profit organization that literally, on a shoestring budget, just helps people. They just help people. That's it. They make sure that people feel protected when they go places like Planned Parenthood. And they lost funding. They lost respect. They were called liars. They lost a lot. There's a lot of people who lost their platform because Jones stole and then lied. And this apology was what? I just want to make sure you guys aren't mean to my ex-girlfriend. That's what this apology is. I'm sorry. Look, I'm sorry. I talked to No Rads. I don't know what her complicity is, but like, sorry. You lived in the house. You saw the money that was coming in. You saw that he wasn't like, you saw all this stuff. You should, if you don't want to answer questions, that's fine. But if you live in the house and you don't want to answer questions, you're going to get a little bit of heat. That's not an apology video by Jones. That's just trash. That's just absolute trash. All right. Speaking of grifters, it appears, back to politics, it appears that Donald Trump is losing Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro now openly calling Donald Trump a grifter.
That many of the organizations that Donald Trump Jr. is connected to are making an enormous amount of money during this period of time when his father is president, which raises awkward questions, certainly, about Trump administration policy, ranging from Trump meme coin to World Liberty Financial to gigantic real estate deals in Qatar. None of this is an amazingly good look. This administration is doing too many important, I'll say it again. This administration is doing too many important things to be bogged down with conversations about how members of the Trump family or the Witkoff family or any of the other families surrounding the administration are making bank while President Trump is president in countries that President Trump is attempting to negotiate with. That is not a good thing. At the very least, it is not a useful thing.
The grift is real. Brianna wants to remind you that egg salad is still chicken salad if you think about it. And I think that's a good point. Well done, Brianna. Yeah. Who's telling me? Democrats tell me to leave YouTube. Cool. Here's what's happening right now. Let me show you this. Maybe I'll show this one first. Yeah, I'll do it in reverse order. I don't love platforming Nick Fuentes. I just want to show this because I agree again with some of the stuff Nick Fuentes is saying, and I hate doing this. The reason I've decided to show this video, though, is because I do think we have to be careful. I think that the right-wing grift is being exposed, and specifically like the pro-Israel grift is being exposed. And the last thing we want to do is have people figure out they're being exposed and then go see Nick Fuentes. Like, this guy wants this to be exposed so that we hate Jews more. This guy wants things to be exposed so that his voice of bigotry is elevated. And I don't want his bigoted voice to be elevated, but here's what Nick Fuentes is saying about the right.
If Ben Shapiro and Jordan Peterson and Charlie Kirk can't annihilate the SJWs anymore, then what can they do? What are they good for? If Shapiro and Jordan Peterson and Charlie Kirk if they can't annihilate and wreck a blue-haired feminist, a soy boy, beta male, liberal atheist, college student on a college campus in a rigged debate where they control the microphone, then what can they do? What?
All right, here's what he's referencing. It was a bad week. A really bad week for these right-wing grifters. First of all, I'm going to show you, we showed Charlie Kirk getting decimated on foreign policy, and he ends foreign policy with like, well, your country's going to be a hellhole. Now here's Charlie Kirk getting decimated when it comes to his by the way, I don't know who this dude is. This is one of the best takedowns of Charlie Kirk's like abortion stance of life begins at conception that I've ever seen in my life. But here's Charlie Kirk getting absolutely walked here too. This is what happens when Charlie Kirk goes to universities and talks to the people who know what they're talking about rather than just like random college students who maybe don't study this stuff. This is what happens when Charlie Kirk gets into a debate where he is completely unmatched. All this like, college is a scam. Look how smart I am. I'm smarter than you, and I didn't go to college. All of that was undone when he went to Cambridge.
Life begins at conception.
But about abortion specifically, why do you think abortion's wrong specifically?
Well, you agree murder is wrong?
I agree. Okay, so this is where we get to the question, right? Because what is it about murder you say is wrong? Like, why is murder wrong?
Well, because it's a human being, not just because it has consciousness or because it's of a certain age, because it's a human.
And what is it that gives human being this moral worth?
Not its consciousness necessarily.
I didn't say it's consciousness.
I know that. I can imagine it because it is a human being because it has a soul.
And what is this soul? Where does this come from? This idea that it's...
Exactly. I mean, again, the Greeks postulated that it is the entirety of your being. Okay, you guys can...
See, Charlie Kirk does this thing where he says, he's on record, he says, like, I am pro-life because of my beliefs, but I can make an argument without my beliefs. I am pro-life because of my beliefs, but without my beliefs, I can still make a solid argument. He's 41 seconds in, and now he's already making an argument that is tied to the soul. What is the soul? There is no soul, right? A soul is a belief. Believing that you have a soul is a belief. There's no evidence of a soul. There's no tangible evidence of a soul. There's no scientific evidence of a soul. So this is just a belief, and you're allowed to have this. You're allowed to have a belief of the soul. Some people view it differently. Some people, they connect more with nature. They might connect with things like astrology, energies. All of this stuff is fine to believe, but you don't get to present it as scientific fact and then make laws.
Soul, where does this come from? This idea that it's...
Exactly. I mean, again, the Greeks postulated that it is the entirety of your being. Okay, you guys can laugh. I mean, it's true. I mean, it's
true that they postulated that. We're going back to the Greeks. My scientific evidence goes back to the Greeks postulating something.
Civilization has had a different belief, but agreed upon ethical monotheism, which is the creed of the West and what the birth certificate of my country articulates, is that every human being is more than just matter. It's more than just a clump of cells.
That's also a lie. What is he talking about? Anybody know what he's talking about? Well, how did we miss this in school? They just didn't tell us?
Laugh. I mean, it's true. I mean, every civilization has had a different belief, but agreed upon ethical monotheism, which is the creed of the West.
Agreed to ethical monotheism, and the West. What's the West? We all have different countries. We all have different constitutions. Again, this is what Charlie Kirk does. He uses words that I don't think anybody ever looks up, and he says, "Oh, this is just the general feeling of the West. The general feeling is and the agreement of the West is this." I don't agree with that. I don't think we've ever agreed on that. I think sometimes that's been more popular than other times, but it has nothing to do with our founding documents. And you'll see that Charlie Kirk, like many conservatives, they do this thing where they pretend things are founding documents that are not founding documents.
And what the birth certificate of my country articulates is that every human being is more than just matter. It's more than just a clump of cells, but it also has...
It doesn't say that. A birth certificate doesn't say any of that. I mean, like this argument is bizarre. This is why I'm glad Charlie's over here at Cambridge, because that, like, what? The birth certificate says that you're more than just a clump of cells? Where does it say that? I on a birth certificate? I don't remember it saying that at all. This is just Charlie Kirk saying because a birth certificate exists for humans, but it doesn't exist for a frog, therefore it says that you're not just a clump of cells. No, it doesn't. It just says that clump of cells or whatever this is has rights. That's it.
An invisible element to you that will live beyond you.
Fine. So I mean, can you say that comes from the Bible, or where else do you get that from?
Ethical monotheism, which is the creed of the West. And again, the Declaration of Independence mentions God 4 times. The founders were...
Is that a founding document? Is the Declaration of Independence a founding document? Does it lay out the law? Can you use the Declaration of Independence as a way to argue in court? No. It's just like a declaration, right? It's like, here's what we're thinking right now. That's what the Declaration of Independence is. Cool. It's cool. It's good to study. It's good to get an eye. It's good to get a look at the mindset of the founding fathers. But is it a document that our laws are predicated on? It is not.
Explicitly believed, not in a secular morality, but a divinely given one, of at least this idea that there is a God and you are not him. And let me ask you, what is the first stage of human development?
So the first, I mean, this is the thing, right? We can take it from the sperm being generated in the father and the oocyte being generated in the mother, right? They fuse at birth, conception, sorry. The only thing that happens at conception is these 2 cells fuse.
Right? No, DNA is created. A zygote.
DNA is not created.
A DNA, no, that's not true. The DNA code.
This is so good. This is so good. Okay, this is very important to Charlie Kirk's argument that the zygote is new DNA. That it is new created DNA, and because of that, that's why he chooses conception as when life begins, because it's new DNA. That matters to him, because what he's saying is like, oh, all of this stuff is just normal until you have new DNA, and now that's God, and so now that we have this new DNA, now this person gets rights, but he's wrong about that.
Hold on, time out. Does a zygote have a unique marker?
Charlie,
does a zygote have a unique marker?
You have to let me speak. You have to
answer it, yes or no. Does a zygote have a unique marker?
Define a unique marker.
Meaning, can you differentiate the DNA coding between the mother and the zygote if you examine it under a deoxyribonucleic acid analysis? Can you?
Only purely because the addition comes from the father.
See, Charlie Kirk is just used to these terms and people not knowing what these terms are. I didn't know what the fuck the name of that acid was. I had no idea. Charlie Kirk has created this argument for people who don't study this, like me. And this was what was amazing about this debate, is watching one side throw out terminology to try and confuse him, and to have him only take that terminology and then explain it in a very simple way, and Charlie Kirk wasn't sure what to do with it.
So it is something different.
Charlie, DNA is not created. DNA is not created. You have, the father has his own genome, the mother has her own genome. They fuse. This is why you have the same characteristics, similar ones to your mother, similar ones to your father. That's why you have similar characteristics to your siblings. DNA is not created, right? So when you ask me, where does a human being come from? I can say to you, it starts at conception, but all conception is these 2 cells joining, right? But these 2 cells were created, the mother cells were created long before, they were created when she
that's what it is? That's what DNA is? I didn't know that. Thank you, TikTok chat. I didn't know that. I had no idea. Science is not my strong suit, my friends.
So there's none of this DNA being produced, right? So we can't establish. The only thing that happens at conception is these 2 cells fuse. Now, this idea that means that for some reason suddenly that moral worth comes in, but it wasn't there before when you had these 2 cells who had half the DNA. But suddenly there's a
correct. Yeah, something magical happens at that.
It's not magical, Charlie. We know about this.
Well, hold on.
Charlie.
That's the point, right? Now Charlie's like, fuck, it's magical. Okay, now it's magical. He's like, it's a fusion. It's just two separate sets of DNA fusing. And Charlie, no, it's magical. That's why this has to be. That's why we have to protect it from this point on, because of expecto patronum.
Time out. Hold on.
I promise you, I'm not trying to score points. I'm not trying to score points on you. This is genuine.
We call it the miracle of life for a reason. We've not been able to yet replicate human life.
Now we're falling back on, why do we call it the miracle of life? I don't know, dude. I don't know. We just do. It just seems like I've watched my child being born. It was a lot. It's a lot to process. Probably feels like a miracle, but like you can explain it scientifically. It's not really a miracle.
Life development outside of the womb.
We call it the miracle of life because yes, it's something beautiful. The ability to form a new.
Magical.
It's not.
It's magical.
You say magical as in it's beautiful. It's an incredible thing that happens, of course. But it's not incredible in the sense we don't know what's going on. There's no new DNA coming out of nowhere.
Hold on, but time out. Isn't there a separate DNA though than the mother? Like,
yes, from the father.
Yes, but it's not the father's DNA either. A new coding is created.
Charlie,
you are a blend of the two. And so when did your life begin?
Okay,
when did your life begin?
I mean, again, this comes from what you define as where life starts. You can say life starts at conception, but I'm telling you, I believe that's just an arbitrary point, right? That's just the moment these two cells fuse. Now, you say about this mother thing.
And that's what the scientific consensus is, by the way. I did look into this. That the scientific consensus of life begins at conception just is basically saying, like, this is when the two DNAs fuse. And so they've decided, like, that's when those two fuse, like, it creates a new life.
The way DNA is arranged in a cell is it's arranged in chromosomes. Chromosomes are paired up, so you have one from the mother, one from the father, typically, in a healthy individual, right? Now, you can take those maternal chromosomes out, and you can find that this is who the person's mother is, and you can do the same with the father. Now, the reason you are different to your mother and father is because some of those chromosomes express genes that are different from each other, and so those genes interact, and that's what gives rise to you, right? But there's no space for any kind of moral framework to come into that until you consider that a human being is capable of consciousness and of suffering. But if you take that out of the equation, the fact that these two DNA, whatever they call molecules.
I think that's just like I've heard the consciousness argument a million times. Again, this isn't where I'm an expert, but like that's the difference, right? The difference is then consciousness. And Charlie started this by saying it's not about consciousness, right? It's about this time. Well, if that's the case, then why do two animals that have a mother and a father, why do they not deserve that same protection? Would Charlie Kirk be advocating for that as well?
Right, these two DNA molecules are fusing. That does not suddenly flip a switch that attributes moral worth to that individual.
So it just called Charlie Kirk a mutation. How dare you? How dare you call Charlie a mutation?
I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not trying to score points. I'm trying to understand.
By what moral standard do you believe that?
If an individual is capable of suffering, then it's wrong. Now, can I explain my opinion on abortion, just so you can understand? I would agree, as many reasonable people would, that at 9 months, it's unreasonable to expect someone to get an abortion, right? Unless you have some extreme circumstances. But for an elective abortion seems a bit radical to me. But it also seems radical to say that a woman who has just, the cells have just fused, to deny her of an abortion also seems wrong to me. Because that zygote is not capable of suffering, as far as we know.
So by what moral standard? Is that just your opinion? Where did you get that moral standard from?
Because suffering is a bad thing. We all know suffering is a bad thing. That's an objective fact, right?
Hold on. So you do believe in objective morality?
I believe that suffering is an objectively negative
So if you can't feel it, is it okay?
What do you mean if you can't?
You can't feel the pain, is it okay to inflict the pain?
In the sense that if no one's suffering from it, if you have a scenario where nobody is suffering from something, then yes, of course. Something is only a moral question if it affects someone's well-being.
So let me just make sure I understand this correctly. That if it doesn't affect their well-being, so dementia patients that don't know who they are or where they're from, can we execute dementia patients because they're confused about their well-being?
Can you imagine a scenario?
Or Alzheimer's patients.
Charlie,
Alzheimer's patients don't really know much about anything. Can we schedule them for execution because they can't technically suffer?
No response.
No, they can suffer. See how Charlie Kirk does this? Like, this is where it falls apart. And this is where Charlie Kirk gets into the absurd. Of course you can't do that. Of course. Dementia patients still feel pain. They can still suffer. In fact, many might say that having dementia is suffering. This idea that just because you don't remember everything means you can't suffer. That, by that same logic, you would say, anybody who forgets something, right? This is where Charlie Kirk and all of these debates get absurd. And Charlie Kirk has practiced all of this, but unfortunately, Charlie Kirk's up against somebody smarter than me.
So, can you imagine a scenario where we lived in a society where we killed people when they suffered from dementia, were incapable of suffering, and we killed them, right? It's not a scenario that involves an absence of suffering. There's still suffering involved. Imagine you grow up thinking, my dad could be killed at any moment because he's going to get dementia. Imagine living your life thinking, I could get dementia and suddenly I'd be killed by my state.
Imagine a world where you slaughter 1 million babies every year in America.
Charlie, it's not slaughter. That's the problem.
Well, it's a forcible removal from the umbilical cord of another human life. Again, we have clarity but not agreement. Biologically, you know that your entire coding began at conception. Your coding,
that's
your
what,
uniqueness.
That's what I'm denying. I disagree with that.
Yeah, that's the opposite of what he said, right? He said it began before that. He said it began with the sperm and the egg, right? Charlie's having a hard time following this guy's argument.
When those two cells fused together, to use your terminology, that is where the process of human...
Good point, Evan. There's no umbilical cord when most abortions occur. Good point.
In the interest of time, can we bring this question to a close?
The process of human development objectively begins at that moment. Therefore, those human beings are deserving of human rights.
Nice. I do enjoy watching Charlie Kirk's talking points be absolutely decimated by people who know what they're talking about. And again, not me. Then we have our friend Parker, who broke Jordan Peterson this weekend. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody dismantled so badly. Shout out to Parker for staying calm through this too. I think about 13 seconds into this debate, Parker knew, I got him. This is unbelievable. Jordan Peterson, by the way, is a psycho. And he has rage problems, and nothing makes him more upset than when people point out how absurd his arguments are. Here's Parker tearing apart. He already fucked it up. That's not what Parker said. He said you believe it to be true. He didn't substitute true and believe. Jordan Peterson is already mad that Parker has the audacity to ask him a question, and he's already fucked it up.
I said you think it to be true.
For it, and you die for it. That's what I mean by that.
No! Nope. No, there's a lot of things I believe that I don't risk my life for. That's a crazy thing to say. This is what, like, the fake intellectualism of the right is being exposed every day by young kids. Just like the pseudo intellectualism is like, hey, dude, what? You can only believe something if you're willing to risk your life for it? That's silly. I'll die for that pen, you bitch. I would die for that pen. I will not say I believe in that pen unless I am willing to die for it. Don't be so sure. The way he talks, too, is so menacing. I'd like to talk to Parker about this, on what it's like to be that close to a real-life psychopath. Lying will never save you. There is no scenario where lying will save somebody. He's absurd. Like, I don't know who's his handler. He's getting his pants pulled down, and he's just like, no. This will never exist. None of this could ever exist. When I was Christian, we used to have this conversation when I was a Mormon missionary, and we would say things like, there were people who were elevated, and Mormons everywhere be like, I would rather die than deny my faith. And it was like, yeah, me too, dude. Me too. That's how important this is to me. That's so goddamn dumb. That is so goddamn dumb. Lie. Just lie. Just do it. Just lie. And why does this God set up this scenario where, like, you have to tell the truth or die? Like, do you believe in God? And if you say no, then you're dead. You just have to die. That's how they control you. That's how they manipulate you. They set up a scenario where even death is not enough for you to not believe the stuff they've told you that doesn't have evidence. That's how cults operate. That's how mind control works. You get to a scenario where, like, even denying something that you think you know, just a strongly held belief, you would rather die than let go of this strongly held belief. Even not even let go of it. Just be like, nah, I don't believe that anymore. And then you live and they walk away and you're like, what a fucking idiot. All I have to do is lie to that guy and I could live. This is easy.
Circumstance logically that lying could save someone.
Yeah, and if you're steeped in sin, you're likely to live in circumstances like that.
I'll give you an example. If you're like in like Nazi Germany and it is
steeped in sin, you're a sinner. He's got his jaw clenched. He's a real life psychopath we're watching.
The case that there's like Jewish people in your would you lie?
I would have stopped him. If I was in Germany, there would have been no genocide. There would have been no Holocaust. I would never be in that position. I just would have stopped it. He won't even like engage with the hypothetical. He just says, like me, Jordan Peterson, I would have stopped the Holocaust before it started. Debate, you dumb bitch. That's what this is. This is a debate. You're testing out their logic, and you just admitted you got backed into a corner where you couldn't answer it honestly without exposing that what you said earlier about believing something and being willing to only being able to, or you have to die in order to show that you believe in something was absurd. And rather than admit that, he's now mad at Parker. He's like, how dare you corner me with my logic, you son of a bitch, because you're not engaging in it. the answer you're giving is, I wouldn't ever be in that scenario. Here's a hypothetical. Okay, I wouldn't be in that scenario. There's my answer. He's such, like, this is the thing about, like, conservative ideology in general. There is nothing that backs it up. You just keep asking him questions. This is fucking brilliant stuff by Parker. Honestly, this is brilliant. He stayed calm. He's obviously talking slower than the last time he went up there. Brilliant stuff here. Just keep asking conservatives questions and watch their heads explode.
You're generating an
You're doing exactly what I said. You're backing me into a corner, and I do not like this. I'm very upset with you for backing me into a corner. I'm used to Joe Rogan just licking my anus while I say moronic shit. I'm not used to pushback like this. Did you make your bed this morning? Did you follow the 10 rules? Did you do it, Parker? I doubt Parker even made his bed that morning.
possible, restricted, hypothetical with.
Handshake was a little,
so do you believe,
little rough. All right, there was another guy that debated him. I don't know. I forgot to get this guy's name. I actually saw his Twitter this morning, and I just forgot to write it down. So I apologize. Does anybody know this guy's name? Does anybody know this guy's name? I don't know. Whatever his name is, I apologize. And reminder, I was also on Jubilee, not this same format. And my Jubilee episode comes out on the 1st. On is that Sunday? I think on Sunday. We haven't figured out the watch party yet with that, but you'll see me this week on Jubilee. He's on TikTok. Okay. This is unfucking believable. His name's Danny. Okay.
Why is that relevant?
Because you go to a Catholic church, don't you? Or you've attended recently. You're interested in Catholicism, aren't you?
Sure.
Start that over.
Why is that relevant?
Because you go to a Catholic church, don't you? Or you've attended recently. You're interested in Catholicism, aren't you?
Sure.
All right. Are you familiar with their doctrines?
Somewhat.
Okay. You're
Their
familiar.
doctrines are very
How do they
deep.
regard Mary?
Why are you asking me that?
Because you're a Christian.
You say that. I haven't claimed that.
Oh, what is this? Is this Christians versus atheists?
I don't know.
The title of this show is One Christian versus 20 Atheists. Jordan Peterson is there to represent Christianity. And by the way, I can tell you from working with Jubilee that there is no lack of clarity on which side you are on of the argument. They pick people for certain sides of the argument. They tell you. They send you multiple follow-up emails. Then before this airs, they send you follow-up emails. When you get there, they tell you. They move you around. When you're waiting to meet with everybody, they move you around, and they make sure that you're in a place where you're not going to start the debate before. It is very clear who you are and who you are not when you film a Jubilee episode. And in this case, he's the Christian. And he's now upset. I think maybe he thought it was a trick. But he just doesn't. Every time Jordan Peterson doesn't want to engage in a conversation, he's like, I'm not telling. It's like third grade tactics. It's crazy.
Christian.
You say that. I haven't claimed that.
Oh, what is this? Is this Christians versus atheists?
I don't know.
You don't know where you are right now.
Don't be a smartass.
Well, I can tell you, by the way, on this invitation, they did not change the title. It was not changed. I saw the invitation. I saw like the casting call go out for this. This is what it always was.
I mean,
either you're a Christian or you're not.
To you if you're a smartass.
Oh, either you're a Christian or you're not. Which one is it?
I could be either of them, but I don't have to tell you.
I'm not telling.
I could be either one of them, but I don't have to tell you. You can't make me answer questions. I'm not telling.
Bro, this is a grown man. He wrote a book for young men on like how to live the 10 rules. This is the poster child here of like, here's how you live your life.
I'm not telling. I'm not going to tell you what I believe.
You don't have to tell me. I was under the impression.
Gold. It was gold. I really enjoyed that.
Is that relevant?
Are you saying Danny said they changed it after? They might have changed it on like are you saying like the YouTube title? Because is that what you're saying with Jubilee? Like once they posted it, they said like 20 Christians versus. What is it titled on Jubilee? Let's look real quick. Jordan Peterson versus 28 atheists. Yeah. But when because they don't want you to know who you're debating, when the casting call goes out, the casting call would have said Christians. They don't tell you like anybody else that's going to be there. So it's not like you're signing up to debate Jordan Peterson. And Danny might know differently, but the casting call that I looked at for that said Christians and atheists. So they changed on YouTube after. Yeah. I don't think that's like a big deal. But honestly, it was just Jordan Peterson is a Christian. Why is he lying about being a Christian? Remember earlier when he was talking to Parker, he's like, if you believe something, you're willing to die for it. He believes in Christianity, and yet here he is. Wasn't that a sin? Wasn't that a sin to deny his beliefs like that? I'm pretty sure in the Bible that's a sin. The very thing he said he would die for, he's not even willing to engage in a hypothetical for. It seems like he might not be willing to die for Christianity. I'm starting to think maybe Parker was right. I don't know. Let's see. Let me read some comments. I've been way behind. Sorry, guys. So he said, I know Jen missed me over the long weekend. I missed you too, Jen. I missed your kind heart. Oh, hey, Jen.
Hi.
Sorry, you probably didn't hear that. Sully said, I know Jen missed me over the long weekend. I missed you too, Jen. I missed your kind heart.
I mean, Sully's just lying his ass off. But
You don't think he missed you?
About my kind heart.
It is very kind. You are.
I mean, obviously, I'm pretty awesome, so it's that I can understand. But.
Johnny said a board and chicken salad is delicious. Bradley said, why does it take 100 million sperm to fertilize one egg? Because they won't stop to ask for directions. That's fair. And it was supposed to say wieners at the end of a Caroline comment. It was a joke. Caroline is so racist. She has separate entrance for black. Oh, yeah. I see that. Gotcha now. All right. Hey, Jen.
Hey. So, yeah. Jordan Peterson's a weirdo. Anyways, so have you got a update the total?
No, but text just said Jordan Peterson is an atheist. Jordan Peterson's not an atheist. There's literally a debate of Jordan Peterson. There's multiple debates. Was it Dillahunty that he debated? He was like, Jordan Peterson has been the Christian side of many debates. Peterson's not an atheist. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. It's crazy.
Who knows? I don't know if I walked into a church, I might like catch on fire or something. So I wouldn't know.
Then Abner said Amanda will be a lib soon. And Jay Hera said for the dollar train, thank you. You sent me a TikTok, but I can't click on that link. So if you want to send that to me on TikTok, and I'll see it later. Jen will remind me. I think I got them all. Go ahead, Jen.
All right. So we've got hour and 45 minutes or so left. We do this show each day, Monday through Friday, from 9:30 to 1 Pacific Standard Time. We are crowdfunded, so if you look in that top left-hand corner, we've got that's the remaining balance that we need to hit by the end of the show. So if you guys could help us out with that, Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats, all go towards knocking out that remaining balance. This is our job. As much as MAGA and conservatives don't like it, it's what it is. If you haven't already subscribed to us, please do so. You can use your Amazon Prime sub on Twitch. We have free subscriptions on YouTube, but also 4 different memberships if you'd like to help us support that way. If you guys disagree with RTP and you'd like to come up to him, come talk to him in real time, how you do that is if you look at the Venmo username, Jen, Jenn, Dub, DUBB, the number 1. That's my Discord username. If you want to DM me on Discord, I can bring you up to talk and debate right now. You don't have to cry in the comments and disagree. Also, check out our link tree. We are on most social media platforms, and we've got merchandise. Also, if you're on YouTube, if you guys could like the stream, I actually like the stream on all of them. I think Twitch is the only one you can't like. So hit the little like button. It's in the bottom right-hand corner on YouTube. And yeah, so we just got a little time left for that. Let's see. What's heavier, a liter of water or a liter of butane? Talking to you, people.
Oh, I was muted. Sorry. I said water.
Okay. All right. Yep, you're right. No matter how much water you have, butane will always be lighter fluid.
I've heard butane clan ain't nothing to fuck with, too. Is that true?
What?
That's a good joke. Don't worry about it.
All right.
There will be people in the chat that get that joke.
I was half listening.
I said butane clan ain't nothing to fuck with, is what I said.
Got it.
Do you get that joke?
I don't.
Yes. That's great. Good. You're not cool. Sorry.
Was there a vote for you being muted on Twitch? Did you lose that for?
I did just barely because I did try to answer you, but I was muted.
Ah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Phil.
Yeah.
Killed him again.
Sorry for for the no mute crowd. That's on me. All right. Let's go to Wilson County, Tennessee. And shout out to Tennessee Holler for keeping us aware of what's going on in Tennessee. This is a pastor named what is his name? Trey. Is that the person who made this? I think it's Trey Suey. Tennessee pastor Trey Suey. Listen to what he says about trying to build a congregation now in Tennessee as a Christian pastor.
If I wanted to grow a church in Wilson County, and my main objective was to get as many people in that building as possible, I would preach the gospel of Donald Trump. I would forsake the gospel of Christ. Well, I am a local Cumberland Presbyterian minister in the Wilson County area here. My thoughts today, I will say as a prerequisite, do not represent my whole denomination, do not represent everybody in my church. That's the beautiful thing.
That's right. Butane is also for the children. Thank you. I'm glad some of you guys got that.
About church is it's a shared space. But the party that we have today is not my mama's Republican Party. It has been taken over, it seems, by an extreme wing, the MAGA wing, which uses Jesus for the name of Jesus for the sake of power, but has no intent of actually playing out what Jesus taught when it came to taking care of the poor, when it came to including people of all stripes and backgrounds into community. I'm being told by conservative pastors that the tail is wagging the dog in these churches, that some of these pastors can't even preach on helping the poor anymore without being woke.
Look, how do you explain this, MAGA Christians? Just how do you combat this assertion here that if you teach the teachings of Jesus, the true teachings of Jesus, you'll be accused of being woke? Turning the other cheek, that's not very MAGA. Helping the poor is selling all your belongings to go and preach the good word. Harder for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven. How do you explain all this? If he's not right, give me something different, because it sure seems like you just. By the way, your party just prayed. They had a prayer together, and then they celebrated cutting funding for poor people and giving a tax break to billionaires. The Christian majority here, the Republican majority, led by a very Christian man, Mike Johnson, just voted to take money from the poor and redistribute it and give it to the rich. And yet you guys are still the ones showing up with crosses every week. You're not Christians. You're not. There's been two things that happened in the Mormon church that caused a mass exodus from the Mormon church. The first one was something called the CES letter. And it was a letter there. The CES is like the church educational system, and they have a director. And somebody basically just wrote a letter to the CES director and said, here's all the inaccuracies I find with our doctrine. Here are some of the contradictions I find with our doctrine, and it's kind of screwing me up. Like, I don't know if I can keep my faith if we're going to be like this. And then he didn't get a response to that letter, so he made that letter public. And when a lot of people read that letter, they thought about things they had never thought about before, and it caused like a mass exodus from the Mormon church. Much bigger than that mass exodus of like truth being exposed. The bigger exodus happened during COVID, when the church went against Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans. And when they went against Donald Trump for his deportation and border policies, and they used this exact line of reasoning. The leadership of the church was like, hey, we're supposed to take care of the poor. We're supposed to be welcoming. We shouldn't be like, our church is a church of immigrants. We are here in Utah, and we're based in Utah because of immigrants who came to the United States strictly to join this church. And then we came across the plains and we came to Utah. We exist because of immigration. And so we need to be a little more friendly towards this. And then the leader of the church, who was also in a former life a heart surgeon, said, yes, vaccines are safe. The power of Donald Trump has usurped the power of Jesus in this country, especially in the Christian right. Most of you will side with Donald Trump before you'll side with Jesus. That's why you're all cool with this tax bill. You're all cool with cutting money for poor people. You think Jesus would give a shit that there was waste, fraud, and abuse? Let's just say you could find waste, fraud, and abuse. Do you think Jesus would give a single solitary fuck about that? Probably not. Do you think he would think that was an important issue? And even if he did find that there was a problem with that, do you think he would then take the money that you saved from this waste, fraud, and abuse, and he would just give it to rich people? You think he would just redistribute it up? Like, we need to do trickle-down economics. That's who Jesus is? You can't have it both ways. You can't be like the Christian party. You can't pray to Jesus. You can't thank him and then celebrate taking money from poor people and giving it to the rich. You can't have both.
Absurd. And that's not the way of Jesus. These people that think helping
Jesus
people
was a budget hawk. That's right.
They need to find a new religion because Christianity ain't the one for them. When I see the teachings of Jesus being played out locally in public policy, what I'm seeing is that the Wilson County Democrats and the Tennessee Democratic Party are supporting things like no taxation on groceries to help the poor. Meanwhile, the Republicans shoot that down, right? And
Jesus notoriously said, if the poor want food, tax them for it. Do not give them any tax breaks. I think that's John 4:5.
Tax cuts to corporations. Now, when Jesus said the first will be last and the last shall be first, I don't know how that corresponds to his teachings. When Jesus said, blessed are the poor, for they shall inherit the earth. But yet it seems that the Republican Party is communicating, blessed are the billionaires, for they shall inherit the earth. This seems very contradictory. Antichrist in the sense. I'm very clear. Christian nationalism is a false teaching. The idea that Christians should seek to conquer their neighbor by conquering the government. What I see with Jesus is he's always protecting people from being encroached upon by religious law that would seek to dehumanize them, cast them aside, and disenfranchise them. I don't see that happening today with the Democrats, but I do see that happening with Republican policy. I've seen within Wilson County what I would call these bastions for Republican politics go on full campaigns, have Sundays fully campaigning for the current administration leading up to the election. And I think the reason for that has to do probably with donors and tithing. I just saw that the Wilson County Republican Party is going to have Matt Gaetz here to speak in Lebanon.
There we go. Family man Matt Gaetz here.
Their blurb that they had on their advertisement for this is a man who stands up for conservative family values. Now tell me how a man who is just being investigated by Congress for potentially there being evidence that he had sex with a minor, he stands up for family values. It's not my family values. Family values.
Maybe that's your guys' family values. And I guess, I guess we can't judge you if that's your family values. That's the point, though. Like this has been completely bastardized. Like you guys have all thrown your Christianity under the bus for Donald Trump. I don't like when you pretend that you're Christians when you're just Trump. Like the amount of Christians that had fuck Joe Biden flags, it's crazy to me. You can't claim that you play by all these strict moral rules and then show no morals and then vote and support somebody with no morals. At the very least, you should at least have to admit that you're hypocritical. Chrissy says, what's the difference between a chickpea and a garbanzo bean? I've never had a garbanzo bean on my face. Thank you. Jesus. Okay. Jamar said, cuck, chair boy, soy boy, hat boy, double daddy, paid by Soros, penis. Thank you, Jamar, for that. That was very, very helpful. I'm going to have a bunch of missed calls all of a sudden. Hold on. I want to make sure this isn't an emergency. I don't think so. Okay. Thank you, Jamar. I'm going to skip this. I'm going to go back tomorrow or on this tomorrow. Let me go to Trump. Remember last week we talked about how the White House started hiding transcripts? Like they just are. Anytime Trump says something stupid, they're just scrubbing it from the White House transcripts. I think they've got another one that they're going to have to hide this week.
I'm surprised that it wasn't, the public wasn't notified a long time ago, because to get to stage 9, that's a long time. That's Monroe from the Monroe document. I don't want to be a wise guy, but when Hitler made his speech at the Eiffel Tower, I would say that wasn't exactly ideal.
Just a quick little fact check here. Cancer only goes up to stage 4. It's the Monroe Doctrine, not document. And if you were a wise guy, you'd be wise to know that Hitler never gave a speech at the Eiffel Tower. So it's not hard to see why this administration would decide there's no need for a written record of all of that, right?
I don't want to be a wise guy. We nailed that one.
Well, now NBC News has learned that the White House is taking things a step further, scrubbing basically every transcript and making only video and audio of his remarks available. So if you're a
Copperhead, you claim I'm a closeted gay man. Prove me wrong. Ask your mom about that.
journalist, of which there are many out there.
But I would love to be. If I was a gay man, I would not be closeted, and I would come kiss you right on the face, and you would love it, and you would resist at first, but then you would love it, and my mustache would rub against your upper lip, and I would caress your cheek gently. I would hold your hand, and then we could cuddle after. If I was a gay man, I would be a proud gay man, and I'd kiss your little face off, my friend.
Looking to cross-reference with an official transcript to quote the President of the United States accurately. Too bad for you. There's nothing there. The self-proclaimed most transparent administration in history wants to hide that from you. And again, not hard to see why.
I like to turn their homophobia against them. Sorry, I'm sorry. I should not have done that, Copperhead. I did not mean to give you an erection this early in the morning. That's on me, and I apologize for that. Go take care of it. Come back in. I'm talking about Trump, so you're going to get triggered by this anyway. So go take care of it for a second, and then I'd imagine 2 or 3 minutes. Use lotion, though. It's important for your skin. Here was Trump this weekend. Trump, we had Memorial Day this weekend, and Trump uses every instance in front of a microphone to celebrate himself. The same crew who got mad at Zelensky for not wearing a suit in the Oval Office don't seem to give a fuck that when Trump is addressing troops, he has to have his branding on. He has to put on his own hat. Has to make everything partisan. Even Memorial Day has to be partisan for Donald Trump. Here he is giving a speech to the troops. And I think one of two things happened. Either he read something incorrectly, which happens a lot because this guy's dumb. We have to remember he's dumb. He's a very poor reader. Or they fucked up the teleprompter and he accidentally tells the truth. He didn't mean to, but he accidentally tells the truth here. See if you can spot it.
The job of the U.S. Armed Forces is not to host drag shows, to transform foreign cultures, but to spread democracy to everybody around the world at the point of a gun. The military's job is to dominate any foe and annihilate any threat to America anywhere, anytime, and any place.
There you go. Would I date a trans woman? Are you asking me if I would date a trans woman? Sure. Sure, if we were in love. If I liked them, sure. Would you? I just lost my... There we go. If any of you guys caught that there. Here's Trump now taking the hat off, speaking at the tomb of the unknown soldier. Trump takes this opportunity to brag about himself. On the day we need to remember our veterans, those who paid the ultimate price, the draft dodger in chief came up with this gem.
We're going to have a big celebration, as you know, 250 years. In some ways, I'm glad I missed that second term where it was, because I wouldn't be your president. For that most important of all, in addition, we have the World Cup and we have the Olympics. Can you imagine?
This is very important. This is very important stuff that we need to talk about on Memorial Day. Trump's got to brag about getting the Olympics and the World Cup. By the way, these are not the president has nothing to do with any of this. By the way, the World Cup, each country sends a delegation. They have a proposal. The United States is always going to get the Olympics and the World Cup. They're going to be in the rotation. It's great for the World Cup to be here. It's great for the Olympics to be here. They're always going to be in the rotation.
World Cup and we have the Olympics. Can you imagine? I missed that 4 years, and now look what I have. I have everything. Amazing the way things work out.
He has it. Trump has the Olympics. It's a quick look into his mind. This is no big deal. What he's saying is no big deal here. But what I want to point out is that this guy consistently makes every event about himself, and you guys pretend that he doesn't. And I think that that's weird. Like you're all for when if Joe Biden did anything on Memorial Day. If Joe Biden did anything, what was it that he did? He went. What was it on? I think it was on Memorial Day when he went to. Somebody help me remember what it was that he did that was so disrespectful for the troops. But this guy like is literally speaking on Memorial Day at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, and he's just like bragging about all the things that he got now, that he has. Look at all these things I have, and then people cheer it. That's weird. This is weird behavior.
Have everything. Amazing.
That's right. He looked at his fucking watch. That's what it was. Thank you. Good Lord. Thank you. He looked at his goddamn watch. And we had to, that was the lead story on Fox News for like 2 straight weeks, is that Joe Biden for 1 second looked at his watch, and so he was selfish. But this is not selfish. JD Vance loves it too. Ha ha! Daddy's bragging about himself again.
The way things work out. God did that. I believe that too. God did it.
Yeah, God did it. God gave Donald Trump the fucking World Cup and fucking Olympics. This we remember what we were just saying, like how they bastardize religion and how they make it about him. It was very important for Donald Trump to be president for the Olympics and the World Cup. God did that. God was very preoccupied with this. Sorry about the Palestinian people. Sorry about the innocent people in Ukraine. Sorry for everybody else who had a rough time. God was busy these last 4 years making sure Trump got back in office so that he could have the World Cup and he could have the Olympics. It was very important to God. That's why some of you, your prayers were not answered. I apologize. Any of you have lost loved ones the last couple of years, I hope you feel better now, knowing that God was on it and he was here helping Trump get the World Cup and the Olympics. That's what he was doing. God saved his life in Butler, PA. Yeah, good question. Timmy, why did God redirect that bullet and kill a volunteer fireman? Why didn't God just have the bullet go somewhere else and not hit anybody? What kind of God is this that you're worshiping? He's like, oh, it's going for the president. Fuck that. Is there a fireman? Yeah, let's take out the fireman. Every time this guy invokes God, it's in a way that makes God look like kind of a petty little bitch, if we're being honest. It kind of looks like God seems like you guys. Like,
It's not fair that Donald Trump gets picked on. I'm going to spend all my time defending Donald Trump.
Like, if God is that petty and God is that dumb, then I'm not interested in that God. But, fuck those firemen. We had to save Donald Trump so he could have the Olympics and the World Cup.
I got the World Cup.
Yeah, sorry about the schools. Sorry about your missing kids. Sorry about hungry kids. There we go. There's the chat that I love. Sorry about all of that. Sorry about all of that. But doesn't it make you feel better knowing that God was doing stuff for Trump?
Got the Olympics, the 250 years.
I'm not mocking religions. I'm mocking people who treat Donald Trump as a religion. And so if this is you, if you feel like this is mocking religion, I think I am talking about you, because I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about you dumb dicks who keep saying that God cares a lot about Donald Trump having the World Cup and the Olympics. I'm also talking about people saying like, God saved Trump's life and fucked over a firefighter. I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about you being dumb. There's a big difference. But I will mock your religion too. Just to be clear, I'm not above that either. I will also mock dumb religious beliefs because I grew up in a cult, and I think some religious beliefs are very stupid and deserve to be mocked.
It was not mine. I'd like to take credit. But I got the Olympics, I got the World Cup when I was president. And I said, boy, it's too bad I won't be president then. And look what happened. I turned out, and we're going to have a great time.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have a great celebration. But most important,
remember, this is a Memorial Day service. We're supposed to talk about people who paid the ultimate sacrifice for this country. And he's talking about how God hooked him up with the World Cup and the Olympics. I'm not mocking God. Wait, I'm mocking your God. Actually, Timothy, I take it back. Whatever God you worship, if you disagree with what I'm saying and you think I'm mocking your God by what I'm saying, then yeah, I'm mocking your God. If you think that your God is for this, yeah, I am mocking your God. And you a little bit. And you a little bit, because you picked like the dumbest God. You should have picked a better one. There's a lot of gods you could choose from. Thousands of gods over the history of the world that you could choose from. Why'd you pick a dumb one? You should have picked a better one.
was the 250th anniversary. That blows everything away, including the World Cup and including the Olympics, as far as I'm concerned. We're going to have a big...
All right, moving on here. Trump finally did something I liked, though. It's a little baffling, but Trump and Vladimir seem to be having a little bit of a tiff. This relationship's not going well. Here's Trump on Vladimir Putin, finally saying what we've been saying all along.
Yeah, I'll give you an update. I'm not happy with what Putin's doing. He's killing a lot of people, and I don't know what the hell happened to Putin. I've known him a long time.
Yeah, he's been killing people the whole time you've known him, dude. Literally the entire time you've known Vladimir Putin, he's been killing people. You might not be a great judge of character.
Always gotten along with him, but he's sending rockets into cities and killing people, and I don't like it at all, okay? We're in the middle of talking, and he's shooting rockets into Kiev and other cities. I don't like it at all.
Mr. President, what do you want to do about that?
I'm surprised. I'm very surprised. We'll see what we're going to do. What am I going to tell you? You're the fake news, aren't you? You're totally fake. All right, any other questions? I don't like what Putin is doing, not even a little bit. He's killing people. And something happened to this guy, and I don't like it.
I don't like it. Yeah, that's who he's been the whole time. I'm really excited, though, to have the Republicans back. I'm really glad now that your Lord and Savior Donald Trump has told you that you can dislike Putin. Now you guys don't have to sit there and defend him. All that money they paid to all your favorite content creators, Dave Rubin and Tim Pool, you can finally go back to the fact that you don't have to argue the stupid position that somehow Ukraine are the bad guys for letting themselves be invaded. You can go back to that position. It's good. It's good to have you guys back in reality, but Trump's mad about that. Brit Hume did a great job. Here's Fox News for you, since you guys get upset when I use CNN. Here's Brit Hume wondering, what the fuck has Trump been watching all these years?
Brit Hume, and Brit, you heard what President Trump had to say there about Russia. You reacted to it a short while ago, saying that you're glad to hear President Trump say this. Putin hasn't changed. He's always been a brutal tyrant. But do you think those comments mean a change from the White House? Are we going to see sanctions, or does President Trump just wash his hands of this whole thing?
I think it's something to hope for, Rich. I do. But the president has always had a very odd conception of Vladimir Putin. I think he's thought that he and Putin could be kind of friends and partners and could make deals together and so on. I don't think Putin has changed. I don't know what the president's talking about. This is the way Putin has always been. He's always been a particularly brutal dictator, willing to take whatever measures he thought necessary to advance his interests, whatever he thought he could get away with. He thought he could get away with invading Ukraine. He thought he could conquer Ukraine in a matter of days. He failed to do that, and he has been spending his own people's blood and treasure for as long as he's needed to after that. And now he seems more intent than ever. He's the same old Vladimir Putin. So I hope the president has had a real.
Con Brit Hume Boomhauer. That's devastating.
Moment of truth about him, and will proceed accordingly. He does, as you've just heard pointed out, have leverage, economic leverage in particular, but military leverage as well, because we could supply the Ukrainians with more arms than we have, and that might turn the tide.
That's been a perspective in Congress, even within the president's own party. Some are now saying it's time to get the sanctions on. Here's what Senator Chuck Grassley had to say. He wrote, "I've had enough of Putin killing innocent people. President Trump, take action."
Now, before it was fine, but now Chuck Grassley's had enough. And he spelled enough ENUF, which is pretty on brand for Republicans. This 400-year-old fossil has finally seen enough. I have a strong opinion on Vladimir Putin now. Now that Donald Trump said something bad about Vladimir Putin, here I come. Here come all these bitch boy conservatives. Every one of them now. Oh, yeah. I don't like Putin either. Yeah, now that Trump said it and it's okay to say it out loud, we also don't like Vladimir Putin. We've liked him the last 8 years, but now we don't like him. The cowardice of the GOP is always on full display. Imagine that. Now they're like, I agree with Trump. He doesn't like Putin either.
At least on sanctions. Do you think that Congress is going to act here with or without the president's blessing?
Well, I think it would be hard for Congress to act without the president participating. But I think that the sanctions are really a possibility for the president and for Congress if they choose to work together in this instance, because Russia is dependent on oil sales and oil transfers and energy. That's, you've heard it said that that country is nothing but a gas station with nuclear weapons. And there's some truth in that. And if we were to impose secondary...
Oh, yeah, 100% half pint. Last week when we were debating with Admir, it's the Republicans are saying, oh, Putin's just, he's got to do it. He's just defending himself against the UN. Actually, Ukraine is the bad guys. Why didn't Zelensky just roll over and take it? When Zelensky was in the White House, he was the bad guy. Now suddenly, and by the way, Trump changing on Vladimir Putin is just because Putin's making him look bad. Because Trump's like, we're going to have peace talks. I'm going to meet with Vladimir Putin this week, and then Putin's like, I'm not showing up for that shit. And then Trump had to explain why Putin didn't show up for that shit, and why none of these negotiations are going well, and why Putin keeps just like turning the other way and ignoring Donald Trump. And now Trump's starting to get mad because Putin is hurting the only thing that Trump cares about, his ego and the perception of him. And he's looking weak, and he looks like a bad negotiator. So now he's mad about the killing. But the reality is Trump's probably just mad that Putin isn't making him look good. And why would Putin? If Putin believes like the rest of us that Trump isn't going to get another term, then why would Putin kiss his ass? What's the point?
Sanctions on countries that are buying oil and natural gas from Russia, that could have a real impact on the Russian economy, and it's something I think Putin would feel, and it might get him to change his ways. Whether we'll do that, I don't know, but at least the president says he's considering it, and that's something to be celebrated, I think.
Another conversation in Washington, of course, on all this reporting about former President Biden's condition when he was president of the United States. Here is what one of the co-authors of that new book out had to say.
Now we got to bring in Biden now, which I appreciate for Fox News. They're like, well, now that Trump looks bad.
Were not even Senate confirmed aides. These are White House aides. These were unelected people. And one of the things that really, I think, comes out in our reporting here.
I'll let you guys show it. Let me just say this. I've looked through this reporting. I think that this is one of the worst, sickest things I've ever seen for the media. Jake Tapper put out this book about Joe Biden. And I have not read the book, but I've seen excerpts of the book. And he put out this book about Joe Biden being cognitively impaired, which I think is fair. But the news organizations are running on it like he literally couldn't function. And Jake Tapper's book, according to what I've read, doesn't say any of that. So this is just another example of Fox News understanding what they're doing here. They criticize Trump, and then they want you to immediately forget about this. Let's just say that Biden was cognitively impaired the whole time. Why is this story that important right now? What's so important about this story? Nothing. It just makes you guys feel good. We criticize Trump, now we got to throw you a bone. Even if he was, what's the point? Do we not? You guys still worship Ronald Reagan. Nobody. There's no historian left that thinks Ronald Reagan's entire second term wasn't run by his wife. And everybody knows that the Republicans covered up the dementia of Ronald Reagan. Is it very important to talk about that right now? No, because he's gone. Right? That presidency is over. Should we spend all day long talking about it? No. But if we're going to talk about medical cover-ups, let's talk about the fact that every medical expert in the world agrees, that probably wasn't a bullet that hit Donald Trump's ear. It was probably shrapnel. And they won't release the medical report. And Donald Trump keeps talking about these cognitive exams that he aces. These cognitive exams that he aced are exams that you only give somebody if they're showing signs of dementia. They're literally meant to say, does this person have dementia or not? Are we going to talk about the fact that Donald Trump it seems to take both sides of nearly every position and rarely remembers what he says? No, we're not going to talk about that, but we're going to spend most of our news time talking about this story. Again, Jake Tapper wrote a book. I think it's if you want to read the book, I think that there are certainly things that were not publicly available about the health of Joe Biden and about his ability to grasp certain issues at certain times. But everything I've read says basically that that there were signs that he at times was cognitively impaired. And that's it. That's the whole story. But Fox News is running at it he never knew what was going on the whole time. And the Republicans in the chat are saying the same thing. He was AutoPen. He didn't do anything. It was the aides that were running everything at all times. How many times in this administration so far has Donald Trump said, I don't know anything about that? Donald Trump literally chose an surgeon general. And they said, what do you know about the surgeon general? I don't know. I just listened to my aide. I just listened to RFK and then put her up. She's not a surgeon. She doesn't seem to have credentials, but I just listened to them. My aide told me to do it, so I did it. That's not unusual for a presidency, for the president not to be aware of everything that's going on. It's not unusual for aides to make decisions, bring it to the president, and the president just signs off on it without really going into too much detail. This is a normal thing. And yes, it's also true that Biden was cognitively impaired compared to who he was before. However you want to like bridge that gap. But Fox goes immediately from Donald Trump criticizing Trump to all of a sudden like, here's Biden. We got to talk about Biden now.
Is that if you believe, and I think a lot of these people do sincerely believe that Donald Trump was and is an existential threat to democracy, you can rationalize anything, including sometimes doing undemocratic things.
You know, Brett, you look ahead to who might run for the Democratic Party for president in 2028. It's filled with people who were defending President Biden and his run for president last year, right?
Yeah, I think that's right, Rich. And I think that the stain of having one way or another participated in this whole system where they were pretending that Biden was fine. Look, those members of Congress had more reason than the ordinary American citizen had to notice Biden's condition. It was screamingly obvious.
It wasn't. It wasn't. I watched Joe Biden every day, and every day we covered it the same way that this book covers it. Yeah, he's not who he once was. Yeah, he struggles to get sentences out sometimes. Yeah, sometimes he loses. He forgets what he's talking about in the middle of a sentence. We all covered this. CNN covered this. MSNBC covered this. Literally, everybody covered this. This is such revisionist history to say like nobody was covering this. You guys were here. You were here on TikTok. We covered it every day. Every day somebody brought it up. Every day we saw clips. I covered clips. It was obvious that Joe Biden was not the person that he used to be. This book by Jake Tapper, there are no like, there's not really anything that we didn't kind of already know. Like there was some details of it. There's some confirmation of it. But we all saw what we saw. However, we also saw times when Biden was there. We saw times when Biden was coherent, specifically on foreign policy. When it was something new, that like a new issue that Biden had not covered his entire career, he did struggle. It was clear that like new concepts were hard for him to understand and spit back out. But when you talked, like if you talked to him about anything foreign policy, he was pretty fucking coherent. And we all covered that. This is not the scandal that they make it out to be. And again, like their GOP still worships Ronald Reagan. He had dementia virtually his entire second term. And most of his first term, it was painfully obvious. But they just hid him. This isn't as salacious as they make it seem. You guys still love Ronald Reagan, despite the fact that he was cognitively impaired his whole second term.
To anybody willing to face it. I think they all knew, members of Congress, members of the administration, prominent Democrats across the country. They all saw this. Some of them pretended, most of them pretended it wasn't happening.
Who?
And I think they're stained by it.
I'd like to know who pretended it didn't happen. Maybe Nancy Pelosi, maybe like Schumer. I don't know, like some of his friends. But the media covered it honestly. We covered it pretty honestly. If you want to go after Pelosi and Schumer for this, that's fine. I agree with that. I think they deserve criticism. I think we should just remove them. Let's get rid of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. Let's all agree on that. Republicans in the chat, the Democrats in the chat. Let's see if we can find common ground. Raise your hand if you think Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi should be removed and replaced. I bet we'll find common ground there.
The question I think for all of them is whether that stain will wear off in time for the presidential election coming up in 2028. And I'm not sure it will. This was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and then going into the midterms for next year. Britt Hume, as always, thanks so much for your time and analysis this evening.
I mean, look, the Republicans are going to run on this on the midterms. They're going to run on Joe Biden was cognitively impaired. Like that matters at all for the midterms, right? I agree with Britt Hume. They're going to run on that because it gives Republicans something to talk about. It gives you something that's easily digestible that you can easily spit out, and you don't really like. You're not going to get a ton of pushback. But does that matter at all? Does that matter at all in the midterms? Does that affect the way that you vote? That'd be crazy if there are people who like switch sides because of this. I'm not convinced midterms are going to happen. Yeah, don't say that. Don't put that thought out there. We got to hide that one. They don't know yet. All right. I want to show this. I want to get to Harvard. It's noon. We got an hour left. Jen, do you want to do announcements before I actually need to go to the bathroom? Jen, do you want to do announcements real quick? I've been upping my water intake. I've been doing great. You here, Jen?
Yeah.
All right.
Not you being a hydrated king.
I'm going to say something nice to myself, too, while I'm in there.
Good. All right. Good. Don't make it weird, though, if you're in the bathroom. Don't be super weird. Anyways, I don't know if you can hear me or not. All right. So like you mentioned, we've got for a little over an hour left of the show. We've got, I think he needs to update the gift goal total. We've got a little bit left on that to knock out that balance. So we are crowdfunded. So we need Venmos, Cash Apps, PayPal, Super Chats, all to go towards knocking out the rest of that goal. This is our job, and that's how we are able to do this each day. So if you guys could help us out and knock out that remaining balance, I would greatly appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to us, please do so. You can use your Amazon Prime sub on Twitch, on YouTube. We have free subscriptions. We also have 4 different levels of memberships. If you guys like to support us that way. If you disagree with RTP, if you'd like to add me on Discord, message me on Discord. My Discord username is the same as the Venmo. So Jen, JENN, DUBB, the number 1. If you DM me on Discord, I can bring you on in real time to so you can own this lib. So if you also check out our link tree, we've got we're on most social media platforms and we got merchandise. So there's all that. So if you guys want to check that out and see where we're at, he's back.
Sorry, I had to pee. I've been drinking. Had to pee out a lot of soy there, and it takes longer when you sit down. So
yeah, it probably goes through your system faster. You didn't make it weird though.
It's quick.
Did you wash your hands?
No.
That's gross.
No, I rubbed the soy back into my skin. I don't want to lose any soy.
That's gross.
Yeah.
So a raisin, a peanut, and an oat. Sit down and order a drink. The bartender said, "What do you think this is? A granola bar?"
Don't eat granola bars with raisins. Also, I don't think you should do that. I don't think raisins should exist. All other fruit, like a raisin, is compost, isn't it? TMI. That's TMI. Sorry, I'm an overshare. All right. Trump is in a fight with Harvard, and this is petty, so I'm going to show it, but I'm just throwing it out there that this is petty. This is from who's the user? Nick Moeller. Is it Moeller? I might have misspelled it. Yeah, Nick Moeller _ I think 203 on TikTok. But I thought this was funny.
Story of why Lil Donnie is so obsessed with Harvard. Since he got into office, Donnie has been losing his little mind over Harvard. But this goes way, way back. See, Obama was a Harvard graduate, and Trump repeatedly said his education gave him an unfair advantage. In fact, many presidents have attended Harvard, including John Adams, John Quincy Adams, Rutherford B. Hayes, Teddy and Franklin Roosevelt, John F. Kennedy, and George W. Bush. Zooming out a little bit, we can see many presidents
Bush on a keg there. It's a little. That was tough.
Attended Ivy League schools, but Donnie didn't. In fact, he couldn't even get into Wharton, a school his family financially supported, without Fred Trump applying some pressure, where one of his professors called him, and this is a direct quote, "the dumbest student I have ever met." Now, the narcissist's brain...
First of all, it was dumbest goddamn student he'd ever met. I do want to... I know they edited it there probably so that... they didn't get in trouble. It was dumbest goddamn student. And biker dude, Anthony, thank you. Appreciate it for the donation there.
Doesn't take rejection well, and they hate any club they're not a part of. But it gets even stupider. Malia Obama enrolled in Harvard, but when Barron Trump applied in 2023, he was reportedly denied, along with every other Ivy League school. Trump was experiencing his rejection all...
The thing is like, I don't know why they would reject Barron. Did they not know that Barron could turn on and off his computer all by himself, even if Trump turns it off 5 minutes later? Did you guys know that if Trump turned off Barron's computer 5 minutes later, Barron would figure out a way to turn that shit back on? I wonder if they left that off the resume, because how could you possibly leave Barron Trump off of the rolls at these Ivy League schools, knowing that he can turn on and off a computer? How could they?
All over again. He was triggered. His baby tantrum brain broke, and now he's bringing the entire government down on Harvard. It's very weird he would focus on this one school until you understand just how diabolically petty lil baby Donnie really is.
It's who said that in the chat? Trump's not. Who said that? Trump's no dummy. What did you say? Trump ain't stupid. Yeah, he is. No, he is stupid. Trump's incredibly stupid. I think that's the whole point of that video. I know you guys don't, because he talks like you and you don't think you're stupid, so I get it. So anyways, Trump's fighting with Harvard, and at their at Wake Forest commencement speech, this is referenced by Scott Pelley, who is one of the I guess I don't know if he's like I don't know what you call him. He works for CBS for 60 Minutes. He took this opportunity. Now, you'll notice that the people here didn't walk out when Scott Pelley started talking about this, and there seems to be some agreement here. And the reality is that in the history of my life in this country, we have never had anybody so openly attack the First Amendment. Donald Trump daily attacks the First Amendment. And the only reason I think MAGA doesn't care is because you don't care about the First Amendment. You only care about the Second Amendment. It seems to be the only one you care about. And you don't care about the freedom of the press. You don't care about free speech. You don't care about the right to identify how you wish. You just want everybody to conform to your standards. And that's why the rest of the country, who's not in lockstep with Donald Trump, recognizes these are real attacks on the First Amendment. We're doing real damage to our First Amendment right now.
But in this moment, this morning, our sacred rule of law is under attack. Journalism is under attack. Universities are under attack. Freedom of speech is under attack. And insidious fear is reaching through our schools, our
butane forever.
businesses, our homes, and into our private thoughts. The fear to speak in America. Power can rewrite history with grotesque, false narratives. They can make criminals heroes and heroes criminals. Power can change the definition of the words we use to describe reality. Diversity is now described as illegal. Equity is to be shunned. Inclusion is a dirty word. This is an old playbook, my friends. There's nothing new in this.
Yeah. When you think about your belief system, what is it, Republicans? And we'll have a little interactive session here. What is it that you claim to care about? Kim said, thanks for all you do. Thank you, Kim. I appreciate that. What is it that you care about, Republicans? What are your principles currently? What is it? Is it just deporting immigrants? What is it? Why do you have fear to speak? You were silent for 4 years of Biden. No, we weren't. You know, what's incredible about all of you is how you all say the same things. This shit of like, oh, you guys do it where you were afraid to talk about Biden. No, we weren't. The fuck are you watching? You didn't watch anything. You don't watch CNN. You don't watch MSNBC. You don't watch left-leaning news. And so we cover all this shit. And then somebody just tells you that it was never covered. And then you're like, oh, you guys didn't talk about it. How come all you guys sound the exact fucking same? How do we all say the same thing? Yesterday when I was golfing with my Republican friends, there were 3 people, 3 of them, all said the same thing. Yeah, are you just mad because millions of dead people aren't getting Social Security anymore? How is it that you all fall for the same dumb fucking lies every time? How does that happen? It's a cult. Like, it's absolutely a cult. We have seen this before. I've seen this before. I've seen it in my own life. I've seen it with my own family. When true things become not true because somebody that you worship says that they're not true. When you take a criminal and you elevate them to the highest office of the land, and then anybody who says that they are a criminal now is the bad guy. The bad guys are the good guys are the bad guys. That's what we've switched to. Suddenly it's cool in this country to rob. Suddenly it's cool to steal from the poor. Suddenly it's cool to run Ponzi schemes. Suddenly we have Republicans all the time like, oh, if you're dumb enough to invest in a Ponzi scheme, you deserve it. And the only reason you're saying that is because your guy's running two of them. Yet two open Ponzi schemes that this president is running right now. And so now you guys are like pro Ponzi scheme too. Oh, and you're invested in them also. That's the funny part. Like, you don't care that you lost money on them. You just care that Donald Trump doesn't get criticized. Less government, much less government. Yeah. All right, Republicans, you want less government? Then why do we have more government? Is the size of government growing or shrinking? It's growing. The only thing you've done is you've gotten rid of HR. You've gotten rid of people that force citizens to keep the rules. You've gotten rid of all the protections that we've had to add to our country to keep it safe from grifting criminals like Donald Trump, and they just removed all those protections. And they do it in the name of small government. Meanwhile, they massively expand the size of the military. They massively expand the deficit spending. They massively expand the debt. You stand for nothing. We actually run primaries. Do you? What did Trump do in the primaries? Did he show up for a single debate? We had primaries too. We had primaries the same way you did. This is the problem. You all just show up and repeat the same dumb shit every fucking day. Are you telling me there were no primaries in the DNC? We want to see the results from our primaries? DNC primary results. Let's look. If we didn't run a primary, can you explain this to me? What are all these? These are the results of the primaries. Joe Biden got 3,904 delegates. 37 delegates were uncommitted. Dean Phillips got 5. Jason Palmer got 3. What was this then? You guys still say the same dumb shit every day. You guys canceled your primaries. No, we didn't. I talked to Marianne Williamson, who was running in the DNC primary. She came on Parker's Live during the primaries, and we all asked her questions as a candidate for the DNC during the primaries. It concerns me greatly that you guys are this programmable, that something that happened you think didn't happen. Meanwhile, your guy didn't show up for a single debate. We held primaries the same way that you did. Nobody had a realistic fucking shot. Before the primary started, it was a done deal who was going to win. You did the same fucking thing that we did. Your guy didn't show up. Your guy didn't debate. Your guy didn't go. There was no primary there either. You guys decided it was Trump. We decided it was Biden. And then Biden stepped down, so we replaced Biden with Kamala after the primaries were done. And by the way, all these 3,904 pledged delegates became uncommitted delegates. So this 37 plus 3,904, these all became uncommitted delegates, and they all pledged to Kamala. I don't think you guys get to talk about primaries. You didn't do one either. You did it. Yours was just as serious as ours was. You had a guy win that didn't show up for a single fucking debate. Meanwhile, Nikki Haley showed up for debates. Ron DeSantis showed up for debates. Chris Christie showed up for debates. You guys had people that showed up for debates, just not Donald Trump. But you don't care about that because you don't care about this. You could give a fuck about DNC primaries. You don't care. You just want to use it as a tool to talk shit because there's nothing defensible that Donald Trump does. That's why you resort to whataboutism all the fucking time. Because you can't defend his actions. Every single thing we've brought up today about Donald Trump has been whataboutism. And you're doing it again now. We did have primaries. You don't know. You're easily lied to. I hope Admir does this tonight, But the theme of Admir's debates should be every fucking thing Republicans believe is a goddamn lie. And I mean that. Everything you think you're wrong about. You cannot explain anything that you're opposed to with facts. None. This is one of those examples. You say that we canceled a primary, that we didn't have a primary. We did. You can go watch it. You can go watch us talk to Marianne Williamson. You can go watch. Dean Phillips had a whole fucking bus. Look, what is this then? Look up Dean Phillips' bus. Why did he have a bus? Oops, let's switch to business. What's this? What are all these pictures of Dean Phillips' bus for? What was he running for? Dean for president. Dean Phillips for president. What are all these? He's going to campaign stops? For what? For a primary that didn't exist, apparently? What were they running for? This is the problem that you guys have. You just get told something and then you repeat it like it's fact, and it's not. I agree that the DNC, like they fucked Bernie over. I agree that they're not the most fair primaries, but neither was yours. And then you just let Trump like put his daughter-in-law in charge of the RNC. During the primaries, you let Trump's own family members control your party. That's not rigged? That's not dirty? And then all of the money had to go, like half the money had to go towards Trump, and he got to decide where the money went? Yeah, yours wasn't rigged. Yours wasn't rigged, just ours. It was just ours that was rigged, right? All right. Now here's Trump doing what we would call race baiting here. Trump's gonna tell you about an issue at Harvard, and I want you to tell me why this is an issue.
Look, part of the problem with Harvard is that there are about 31%, almost 31% of foreigners coming to Harvard.
Why is that a problem? In the chat, Republicans, tell me why it's a problem that 31% of the students from Harvard are from other countries. Just explain it to me. Anybody? Are we not a meritocracy anymore? We're not pro-meritocracy anymore? You want DEI when it comes to just American citizens? We want meritocracy. All right, well, red states, you're fucked because you guys have bad education. Well, what if we just got rid of all these other people from other countries that came to our schools? Then fuck meritocracy, right?
We give them billions of dollars, which is ridiculous. We do grants, which we're probably not going to be doing much grants anymore to Harvard. But
yeah, that's what you want to do. You want to take the money that the government sets aside for research, and you want to give it to dumber schools. Don't give it to Harvard anymore. Give it to a dumber school. Go give it to Brigham Young University. Go give it to go give it to Liberty University. The grants help us. He acts like the grants are like some great gift to Harvard. It helps you, dude. And look, if we're fine, let's not do grants anymore. Let's all collectively share in the profits. That's fine with me. Let's force Harvard to share some of that money with us when they have grants and they do research. And let's let all the American citizens share in that. That's fine. Let's do some socialism.
They're 31%, but they refuse to tell us who the people are. We want to know who the people. Now, a lot of the foreign students we wouldn't have a problem with. I'm not going to have a problem with foreign students, but it shouldn't be 31%. It's too much because...
Why? First of all, why is it too much? And second of all, you know who these foreign students are. They came here on a student visa. We have a record of who the foreign students are. Why is he asking Harvard to tell who the foreign students are? We already know who they are. Because he's lying to you again. Oh my God, we have it. Look at this. Michael said, sent here from China to spy on, and they can't even do math or read English. Sometimes I think you guys are too dumb to talk to. You think people are getting into Harvard who can't speak English or do math? You really think that's happening? Their classes are taught in English. Only the best and the brightest get into Harvard. You have to have incredible grades. You think the people are getting in with like a 4.7 GPA and they can't do basic math? None of this is real. Like, I don't know. It's so easy to get you guys pissed off. They just tell you a bunch of shit that's not real, and here you are upset about it.
We have Americans that want to go there, and to other places, and they can't go there because you have 31% foreign. Now, no foreign government contributes money to Harvard. We do. So why are they doing so many? Number one. Number two, we want a list of those foreign students, and we'll find out.
Let's look. Do foreign governments give Harvard money? Let's see. I don't know if they do or not. A sneaking suspicion. Let's see. Yes, foreign governments do provide funding to Harvard through grants, contracts, and gifts. They just have to report it. All right. Let's see how much foreign funding. How much foreign funding has Harvard gotten? Harvard received. All right. Let's see. Harvard has received a significant amount of funding from foreign donors, totaling about $151 million from foreign governments since January 2020. This amount represents 13% of the total of $1.1 billion received from foreign donors. Wait, what is this? Oh, that's 13% of the total received from foreign donors to all universities. Oh, okay. How many more times does he have to be wrong here? We know who the students are. They definitely do get foreign aid. And then we're going to tell the part where they can't do math.
Whether or not they're okay. Many will be okay, I assume. And I assume with Harvard, many will be bad. And then the other thing is they're very anti-Semitic. Everybody knows they're anti-Semitic. And that's got to stop immediately.
Yeah, those are the things. All of these things just not true. I don't know who the fuck is advising this guy. I don't know who tells him these lies every day. It is crazy that he shows up and just lies like this. And then we see in real time in the chat people showing up and saying the same shit. Like, they're getting into Harvard and they can't do 2 + 2. But how'd they get such good grades then? And if you're going to talk about like China, listen, I hate to break it to you, but if you've graduated high school in China, you're probably far ahead of somebody who graduated high school in the United States, especially if you happen to live in a red state. China does a lot more to educate their population than we do. They spend a lot more money. They educate them better. Their test scores are better. China's better at education than we are. It's crazy to think that they're not. All right, so literally everything that guy said was a lie. And here's the last lie of Trump claiming that people at Harvard can't do basic math. I don't know who told him this shit.
I do not want the best and brightest from around the world to come to Harvard.
I do, but a lot of the people need remedial math. Did you see that? Where the students can't add 2 and 2 and they go to Harvard. They want remedial math, and they're going to teach remedial math at Harvard. No, wait a minute. So why would they get in? How can somebody that can't add or has very basic skills, how do they get into Harvard? Why are they there? And then you see those same people.
Okay, so here's where this story comes from. Harvard is offering a new full-year remedial math course called Math MA. It is not for 2 + 2. The course, it covers basic algebra, geometry, and quantitative reasoning. And it's meant to address any perceived learning gaps in math skills, mostly attributed to the years that people spent during COVID-19 at home. So it's basically taking like any high school math that you may have missed during COVID-19, and Harvard just offers this class. Just like if you feel like you need to brush up on algebra, geometry, and quantitative reasoning, then you can take this class. It's not required, but you can take it if you get into Harvard. That's it. It's not 2 + 2. It's literally algebra, geometry, and quantitative reasoning. And by the way, like I think if any MAGA, I brought up any MAGA here and started asking you algebra questions or geometry questions or quantitative reasoning questions, I think you guys would struggle with that. But again, not what Trump says. How come everything he says includes a lie? Here's the lie again.
Remedial math.
Remedial wrath.
Where the students can't add 2 and 2 and they go to Harvard. They want remedial math, and they're going to teach remedial math at Harvard. No, wait a minute. So why would they get in? How can somebody that can't add or has very basic skills, how do they get into Harvard?
They don't, is the answer to that question. They don't. You're not getting into Harvard if you can't add 2 + 2. We know this because Barron didn't get in.
Why are they there? And then you see those same people picketing and screaming at the United States and screaming at, they're anti-Semitic or they're something.
Andrew, remedial wrath is a great nickname to call Trump.
We don't want troublemakers here. But how do people that can't, when Harvard comes out with a statement that they're going to teach some of their students remedial math, that's basic math, that's not the deal, okay? And anymore.
What do you mean that's not the deal? It turns out that is the deal. I don't know what he's talking about. But he doesn't know what remedial math is. He never knows any. This guy is so fucking dumb, and it's so frustrating when he does something so obviously stupid, like thinking that Harvard's teaching people to learn 2 + 2. If any other politician did this, you guys would crush them. But you're so afraid to admit that this guy's a fucking moron that when he lies to you, you justify it. I think all of you are getting cheated on by your significant others. And if you are a person who wants to be in a relationship and cheat on the person you're in a relationship with, just pay attention in the chat to who these MAGA people are and lock them up, okay? Lock them down. You could cheat on them forever. They won't care. Just tell them you're not. Even if they catch you doing it in the act. Honey came in and she caught me red-handed. That song is about MAGA. That's what it was. It just teaches you how to cheat when you are in a relationship with a MAGA. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. No, that wasn't me. No. Don't believe your lying eyes. He just lies right to your face, and you love it. You love him for it. All of your significant others are cheating on you. I'm 100% convinced of it. Now here's Trump threatening Harvard. Now we're going to use the full weight of the government to go after. By the way, have you noticed that Donald Trump hasn't said this about Liberty University or Notre Dame or Brigham Young or Southern Methodist or Baylor or any of these religious institutions? They all have massive endowments. But why is Trump threatening Harvard right now? I know we showed the cartoon that says he's threatening them because his kid didn't get in, and maybe that's true, maybe it's not. I don't know. But the reality is the reason that he's threatening them is because he wants access to everything. He wants access to their speech. He wants access to their transcripts. He thinks the government should be able to go through all these international students with a fine-tooth comb, and that Harvard has to hand that over to them. And Harvard and the Supreme Court have basically said, no. So Trump's just going after Harvard now.
Are you considering stopping other universities besides Harvard from accepting foreign
Well, we're
students?
taking a look at a lot of things. And as you know, billions of dollars has been paid to Harvard. How ridiculous is that? Billions. And
sorry, I forgot to get these. Tell me your son didn't get into Harvard without telling me your son didn't get into Harvard, said Brian. Amy Lynn said, but Barron is super smart. He knew how to turn the computer back on. Jen Star says, Trump talks in remedial. Michael, thank you for the donation. Amy Lynn said, I voted for Biden and Kamala because I knew Joe might not make it the whole time. Kamala is so overly qualified, I would have loved to have had her. Careful, you're going to trigger the MAGA in the chat now because you said the name.
they have $52 billion as an endowment. They have $52 billion. And this country is paying billions and billions of dollars and then gives student loans and they have to pay back the loans. So Harvard's going to have to change its ways.
Are you considering stopping other?
Yeah, we just got to go after them. They won't do exactly what I said, so I'm going to crush them. Can you imagine, like, why is the president involved in so much petty bullshit all the fucking time? All the time. You guys like that your president's going after education? Will it make you feel better if the rest of us are as goddamn dumb as you are? Is that the point? You're sick of being dumb, so you're like, we got to make everybody as dumb as we are. Is that the goal here? I think that's their goal. I think that they're very interested in dumbing down America. You don't want an educated population. You don't want an educated voting bloc. And if you can't dumb them down enough to keep voting for you, then you got to start canceling people's ability to vote, which we're also seeing. What is his point of contention? I don't even know. Honestly, Giselle, I have no idea what his point of contention is. It's all so baffling. It comes, I think, from a Supreme Court decision and Harvard's decision to tell Donald Trump to fuck off. Here's the Supreme Court's decision here. Or excuse me, a federal judge first.
Trump administration's move to prevent Harvard University from enrolling international students. The judge
I think that's probably correct. He's lost in his pettiness. I think that's probably correct.
decision came just hours after Harvard filed a lawsuit in response.
That initial move by the administration put about 6,800 students, or more than a quarter of the student body, at immediate risk of losing their international status. Harvard has been at the center of the administration's battle over higher education, which includes multiple investigations, canceling or freezing billions of dollars in grants, and threatening the school's tax-exempt status. For more on what this legal and political clash can mean for higher learning, I'm joined by Laura Meckler of The Washington Post. It's all part of our Rethinking College series, which is focusing on the battles.
I think that's correct. Who said that? Tilde and Maggie. Yeah. They defied him. He's a narcissist. That is a moral injury he cannot tolerate. When I say that, like, Mr. Jones is very similar to Donald Trump, it's the same thing. It's that people have the audacity to call out his bad behavior, and he's a narcissist, so he fights back. And that's what MAGA loves. They're like, oh, he'll fight back. Yeah, but what if he's wrong? I think that's the part that none of you ever consider. Like, maybe sometimes he's wrong. So maybe when he's fighting back, it's pettiness. Maybe it's unwarranted.
Over higher education. Laura, welcome back to the NewsHour. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me again.
So for the moment, as we said, the administration is...
And Michael, just real quick, like, you say we're going to complain about Trump because we lost. Dude, this is what you're supposed to do as a citizen. You're just a bitch. Like, you're just a follow-along bitch. Our job as citizens is to hold our government responsible. Our job in media is to hold the government responsible. That's our job. Our job is not to just, like, suck the orange dick all day long. That's not supposed to be our job. We're not supposed to be like kiss-ass little cult members. That's what you're doing. If you have a problem with people criticizing Donald Trump, just look in the mirror a little bit. What does that say about you? You don't know him. You don't know if he's telling the truth. You just really like him, and you don't like people who say bad things about him. And so, like, you come in here you're here every day, by the way. You say the same shit every day. You come in here every day and you're like, you guys are just going to complain? Leave, bro. Leave. You love it. You live for this shit. You just like being on the side defending Donald Trump. Uneducated, by the way. 3 hours in now? Not one of you has the guts to come up here and defend a position? No, because I think you know what we know. I think you know this is corrupt. I think that you know he's overstepping his power, and you just like it. Because you think that that means you get power. You don't, though. You don't get any power. You're still just worshiping Donald Trump.
Blocked from revoking Harvard's ability to enroll foreign students. But should it go into place, how big a threat is this to Harvard, both reputationally but also economically?
Well, it has several elements. First of all, if you're talking about theoretically such a large number, thousands of students not able to join them this fall, the question is, can you just replace those students so quickly? Harvard clearly has a lot of people who want to go there, but it's not entirely clear that you could completely replace those students if it came to that. So there's some implications when it comes to things like tuition and that sort of thing. But really, I think there's a bigger issue about sort of how Harvard sees itself. It sees itself as a place that's really attracting the best and the brightest, throughout the world, and that the people who are there are learning from each other, learning from people who come from different places, from different cultures, and that if those students weren't there, that would take away something from how the university is and what sort of a place it is to be and to study.
We know that international students often pay higher tuition in some places. Is that true at Harvard? I mean, does it make a difference for their bottom line?
At a lot of schools, it makes a big difference. There are many schools.
Sorry, for those that are on TikTok, I've been banned from TikTok for the last 3 months. So yes, TikTok requests are off because I use Streamlabs to stream, and TikTok, the functionality doesn't allow us to take guests from TikTok. But just for anybody that's here, all you have to do is add Jen on Discord. You can come up here and debate. That's it. That's the whole thing. We literally say it like Jen said it at least 5 times during this live. The thing is, I don't think any of you want to debate it. I don't think you can debate it. I would love to debate. I would love to hear your side of this discussion. I would love to not have to guess your opinion based on your dick sucking in the comments. I would love that. I would love to not have to guess. But it seems like many of you don't have the courage to do it.
That will charge.
Oh, Jen, did you jump in right there?
Yeah, I did. It's just my Discord username is the same as the Venmo. Add me on Discord. Jen Dub #1. That's how you do it.
There you go. All these people that just barely said that we're afraid to take guests. I assume all of them will be messaging you quickly. And mods.
There's people that have been crying about it, like on YouTube, that We told them. They're just...
Well, mods, let's help these folks out. Anybody who says that we won't debate, like, just make sure they get Jen's username. And then if they don't message Jen, go ahead and mute them for a little bit, because we don't want them to have to deal with this anymore. I don't want to hurt you guys' feelings anymore. I don't want you to have to deal with that. If you're a person who says that somebody else is afraid to debate and then you're not going to debate, you can just go somewhere else. We'll just have to mute you for a little bit, okay? Thanks, guys.
Large international students, full freight. And
we're going to find out if I can say suck the orange dick on TikTok. We'll find out quickly.
Whereas U.S. students will often get financial aid. As it happens at Harvard, they actually do offer financial aid to international students as well. So it isn't the same sort of disproportionate hit that you would have at another university, but it doesn't mean they're not paying anything. That is still, of course, revenue to the school. But I think that this is less about the revenue and the tuition for the school. This is a big operation there with a lot of students and a large endowment, and more about who's going to decide what sort of policies they can have, who's going to essentially, can the Trump administration impose its philosophical and political agenda onto the university? And obviously Harvard has a lot at stake in trying to resist that.
Well, for its part, the White House has issued a statement saying, in part, if only Harvard cared this much about ending the scourge of anti-American, anti-Semitic, pro-terrorist agitators on their campus, they wouldn't be in this situation to begin with. And
Yeah. All that's ever happening at Harvard. We just saw this little clip here. We just saw students walking around unencumbered on Harvard. But yeah, that's what's happening. We have a bunch of pro-terrorist agitators on their campus. This is just the whataboutism. Trump says that Harvard, you have to give us all the information on these students. Harvard says you're overstepping the Constitution right now. You have no right to ask for this information. And the White House responds by going, well, if only they cared this much about the scourge of anti-American, anti-Semitic, pro-terrorist agitators. By the way, like, Stephen Miller is anti-Semitic. Like, most anti-Semitism comes from the far right. Remember the people chanting, Jews will not replace us, the very fine people? Remember those people? What did Trump do to end that scourge? Nothing? I don't know why. I don't know how this has become, like, how, like, pro-Palestine has become anti-Semitic. It's mostly because, like, you guys are just dumb. And so they say stuff like this and you just gobble it up and you just repeat it, but you have no idea what you're looking at. And I think that's the most frustrating part in dealing with you guys currently. It's just the sheer lack of curiosity, the sheer lack of care of whether or not what you're saying is right or wrong, whether it's factual or not. You don't care. You just want to get it out. You just want that voice to be heard, and you want to repeat the talking point that you've been told. I imagine it just like swims around in your gut, and it's just trying to get out, and eventually you get it out. Anti-Semitism! And then you move on with your day. You're not going to discuss it. We're just going to move on with our day. Harvard got a little petty. So Trump obviously, they threatened a lawsuit against Harvard. Judge shuts that down, or I guess it not threatens a lawsuit. They say they're going to cut funding, and they say they're going to cut students' ability to come to Harvard. And Harvard responds in a much smarter way than Trump did, because Harvard's smarter than he is.
Thanks to Trump trying to tell Harvard what to do, Harvard is now offering free courses on the government. This one is Constitutional Foundations, U.S. Public Policy, Justice, just a course on justice. And of course, We the People, Civic Engagement in a Constitutional Democracy. In this course, they also teach you how to spot a dictator taking over, in case you don't know what happened. The Trump administration called up Harvard. Hey, Harvard, we need information on all your international students, like a lot of information. And Harvard said, nah, girl, we ain't doing that. To which the Trump administration said, cool, then we revoke your ability to have foreign students. To which Harvard then went to a judge. And the judge said, gavel, gavel, nah, you ain't doing that. Injunction, stop. So now, over the weekend, Harvard said, we're gonna let these classes be free online that kids can take, or people who want to know more about a constitutional democracy and how that looks as opposed to a dictatorship. I hope you enjoyed me serving the tea. I'm happy to serve more tea in the future if we like to consume news like that more. Anyway, I'll keep you updated on what's going on, and I'll talk to you in a little bit. Okay, I love you, bye.
Thank you, Vibecraft voiceover on TikTok. Yeah, Harvard just said we're going to be petty too then. We're going to give people a free education about how to not support a dictator. I'm conservatives. Are you planning on headed over there to Harvard to learn about this stuff? Or are we still just learning from the Bible? Zionism is not Judaism. Don't get them confused. Yeah, great point. Zionism is Zionism is Christian is the equivalent of Christian nationalism, right? It's people who have taken a religion and then they use it for their own purposes, which are violent. Zionism bad, Judaism good. Here are, let's see, let me skip that one. So let me show you how this played out. So here is the Department of Homeland Security. This was last week. I just didn't get to it on Friday. Department of Homeland Security told Harvard it will lose its ability to enroll international students if it doesn't comply with the list of demands within 72 hours. Among those demands is an astounding requirement that Harvard hand over all audio or video footage in the possession of Harvard University of any protest activity involving a non-immigrant student on a Harvard University campus in the last 5 years. Now, again, this is all constitutionally guaranteed freedom of speech. You are allowed to involve yourself in a protest as long as that protest doesn't do anything illegal. Not just illegal activity, protest activity, including protected speech, including if American citizens are involved. The government also threatens Harvard with criminal prosecution if it provides material, false, fictitious, or fraudulent information. The first page of the letter ends by stating that the Trump administration will enforce the law and root out the evils of anti-Americanism, which apparently is anti-Israel. If you are against Israel, somehow you are now against America, which is one of the craziest things that has happened in all of this, that we have turned Israel into like an arm of America, where if you criticize Israel, you are criticizing America. And that's upheld by Marco Rubio, by J.D. Vance, by Donald Trump. This administration cares an awful lot about what you think about Israel, which is fucking crazy. We're not allowed to talk about other countries in this country. If you talk about other countries, you can lose your status here. That's wild. That's not America first. That's Israel first, isn't it? Isn't America first the idea that you can say whatever you want? That you can criticize people openly? Like when you guys criticize Ukraine, did you have to worry about criticizing Ukraine? No, you sure didn't, did you? But if you criticize Israel, suddenly, somehow now that's like anti-American? That's pretty crazy. I think that's crazy. The Trump administration is adopting tactics of Peruvian strongman Oscar Benavides, who once said, "For my friends, everything. For my enemies, the law." Here is the letter from Homeland Security. I'll post that in the Discord. I'm not going to read it now, but that was the basics of it. And Kristi Noem obviously signed that. Here's what Kristi Noem said. Then she tweets this. Suck it. Suck it, says that Director of Homeland Security. Suck it, Harvard. It's totally not partisan. It's totally not a weaponized Department of Justice. Totally not a weaponized Homeland Security. Suck it. And the judge said, "Get fucked, Kristi Noem. Have you figured out? Have you figured out yet what habeas corpus is?" I don't think she's figured that one out yet. Did I? Oh, shit. I have my outline up there. Here's what she said. Here she is on Fox News bragging about this and feeling real confident, a little too confident.
On themselves. They have promoted and allowed violent activity on campus. They have allowed anti-Semitism, participation with CCP and Chinese infiltration and
Where? Where's the CCP infiltration, by the way? And is the CCP like, are they also like involved in this Israel-Palestine conflict here? Are they why are we talking about the CCP?
Influence on their campus, and they haven't protected their students. So we have given them multiple opportunities to share criminal activity with us, backgrounds on these students, to let us conduct the oversight into this program that is our responsibility, and they have refused to do so. So today I sent them a letter that said they will no longer be allowed to participate in this student exchange visitor program, and that's up to 27% of their enrolled students. So it's significant. Any foreign student that wishes to get an education in this country, that is attending Harvard and not participating in this criminal activity, they will have to find another university to go to, because Harvard has chosen instead to not protect their students and to allow this kind of violent and discriminatory action continue.
So as you
Do what we say, agree with our ideas, or we will attack you. That's not moving the goalpost, soup slinger. If you are here on American soil, you have the right, you have the freedom of speech. It is not, the freedom of speech is not just for citizens. I think that you've been lied to a lot by this fucking idiot here. And this is what happens when you put a fucking idiot in charge of Homeland Security. You have a fucking idiot telling a bunch of other fucking idiots a bunch of fucking idiotic things. That's the problem. So you show up here and you say dumb shit because you're listening to an idiot. You have the right of speech, even if you are not an American citizen. Could you show me the statute that says if you are not an American citizen, you do not have the rights of speech? I haven't seen it. Is that in our Constitution? Does the Constitution say, yeah, you have the freedom of speech unless you're not a citizen? She's not smarter than me. She's not. That's the crazy thing. She's definitively not smarter than me. She's probably the dumbest person in that cabinet. This is a lady, like, when asked what habeas corpus was, she said, it's the right of a president. And I know you guys don't know what habeas corpus is either, but that's what she said. She said it's the right of the president. Habeas corpus. It is not the right granted to a president. In fact, it is specifically not a right granted to the president. Now, the president, in special circumstances, can remove your rights, but she doesn't know that. But no, she's totally smart. This is not an intelligent person you have up there. I would not be proud if I was a MAGA person. I think you guys all get distracted by the fact that you think she's pretty, and so you think that she's really smart. She's remarkably dumb. Here's Randy Fine. Here's what he says about these. Now, we're going to go after immigrants again, right? If we go after immigrants who don't just worship Israel for some reason, that is anti-American.
What do you make of this move against Harvard?
Well, I also went to Harvard, and I can tell you, 35 years ago when I was there, you saw a lot of this stuff, but I never felt unsafe as a Jewish student being there. That's what's different today, and if I were to make any encouragement to President Trump and Secretary Noem, it would be do this everywhere. We should not be bringing people into America.
Like, are we watching these protests? These protests have thousands of Jewish people protesting the treatment of the Palestinians by the Israelis. This is not anti-Semitic. It is absolutely fucking crazy that we allow them. What you are is a Zionist, and people don't like Zionists. And you're not willing to say that you're a Zionist. You're not willing to be honest about this. But can you please explain to me why there's so many Jewish students that are protesting the treatment of the Palestinians by the Israeli government, and you call them anti-Semitic? What are they, a danger to themselves? They're hurting themselves now too? It's an anti-Zionist movement. But if there's anything Republicans are obsessed with doing, it's playing identity politics. And taking identity politics and twisting them in a way to make themselves victims at all times.
America to get an education who hate us. They should be coming here to get an education, and frankly, they should keep their mouths shut beyond that. I don't go into someone else's house and complain about it when I'm there.
You know what, you big dumb bitch? I bet you do. I bet you fucking do. Because you're literally complaining about somebody else's house right now. You're literally complaining about speech that you don't like at places that you don't go. This is a wild thing. I don't tell people how to speak. That's what you're doing right now. You're literally telling other universities. He said not just Harvard. We should do it everywhere. We should be able to tell them how to speak. What a wild thing to say. I would never dictate how somebody else speaks, except for right fucking now while I'm doing it in this moment. And I'm telling other people how to speak in this moment. But other than that, I wouldn't do it.
They're guests in our country, and they should realize that. And there's a real problem with folks not understanding that.
Well said.
The other problem here is that most Americans, a majority of Americans, agree with the protesters. A majority of Americans agree that the people most at fault are the state of Israel, that they are the acts that they are committing on the Palestinians are not warranted. So you're saying that, like, these people come to America, and if they're agreeing with a majority position. So now you're saying that the minority position of Zionism good, you're not allowed to argue against the minority position in America. You have to shut up and you have to do what's best for America. But Americans don't agree with you. Americans want this war to end. Americans want the Israelis to stop genociding the Palestinians. He's got a minority position, and this is the problem with MAGA, is that you guys take minority positions and you think that they're a majority position, and then you want to silence anybody who takes an opposite stance. By the way, I noticed that Randy Fine didn't show up and criticize the Qataris and the Saudis for saying this exact same stuff when Trump was over taking bribes from them. I noticed Randy Fine didn't show up to Fox News and say, hey, Donald Trump, why are you criticizing Israel all of a sudden? Why are you criticizing Netanyahu? Why have you soured on Netanyahu all of a sudden? I noticed he didn't make any comments then. A Harvard student, that's anti-Semitism. When Trump does it, it's fine. We just ignore it.
And Randy Fine, thanks very much for being with us. What do you make of this?
All right, so I'm trying to speed through this. Let me, all right. So then Harvard sues the Trump administration for blocking student enrollment, and obviously the court ruled in favor of Harvard, and turns out Trump, for like the 20th time in this administration, did something unconstitutional, which nobody should be surprised about. We got about 18 minutes left. What's the gift goal at? We got enough time to knock that out. Let me check comments because I haven't for a while. And then just as a reminder tonight, Jen, we're going, what time's Admir? Is that at 5:45?
Yeah, 5:45 Pacific.
5:45 Pacific. So we'll be at the Admir in we'll take a couple hours off, and then we'll be at the Admir at 5:45. Let me go back. Yeah, I want to cover this. This is from The Guardian. Some of you may remember a couple months ago, after Pete Hegseth had his DMs leaked, where they were absolutely leaking work plans to a journalist on accident, a couple people got fired. And now the White House is starting to lose its confidence in Pete Hegseth and the Pentagon because it keeps being exposed that they don't seem to know what they're doing. The White House has lost confidence in a Pentagon leak investigation that Pete Hegseth used to justify firing 3 top aides last month. After advisors were told that the aides had supposedly been outed by an illegal, warrantless national security agency wiretap. Just typical MAGA stuff. We're just using the NSA to root people out. The extraordinary explanation alarmed advisors who raised it with people close to J.D. Vance, because such a wiretap would almost certainly be unconstitutional and an even bigger scandal than the number of leaks. The advisors were stunned again when Tim Parlatore, who is the lawyer for Pete Hegseth, denied having told anybody about an illegal NSA wiretap himself, and maintained that any information he had passed on to him by others at the Pentagon. The leak was first attributed internally to Hegseth's senior advisor Dan Caldwell, who was then escorted out of the Pentagon and fired. Caldwell says, "I didn't do it." He said, one Trump advisor recently told Hegseth that he didn't think that Caldwell or any of the fired aides had leaked anything, and that he suspected the investigation had been used to get rid of aides involved in the infighting with his first chief of staff, who's now been fired, Joe Casper. Hegseth's got it together. The skepticism among the Trump advisors is widely seen as a product of several developments that started shortly after the suspensions of Caldwell and Selnick on April 15th, followed by the suspension of Carroll on April 16th, according to 7 people familiar with the matter. 7. This isn't one unnamed source. After the aides were fired on April 18th and issued a joint statement denying wrongdoing, the White House received its first briefing on the firings. Yeah, I'll go to the next part of the story. So now the White House asks questions about Pete Hegseth, and there seems to be a real division in the Pentagon and in the White House, and there seems to be a lot of let's just call it IDF influence. Especially when it comes to Iran. Let's go here. Here is Dan Caldwell. He has been on Tucker Carlson. By the way, this isn't like partisan.
Absolutely not.
Most of the people who have platformed Dan Caldwell since he left have been right wingers, and they vouch for him. People like Tucker Carlson. This is something that is a real point of contention between like the Vance wing of the Trump administration and the Hegseth wing. Now, remember, Pete Hegseth is Islamophobe. He has a stated goal to kill all Muslims. And J.D. Vance isn't quite that crazy. So there are at least factions within the GOP who don't think we should just kill all Muslim people. Pete Hegseth isn't one of them.
Is one, it is absolutely not in our interest to get involved in another major war in the Middle East. That would be disastrous for us. It'd be disastrous for Israel as well, too. People in northern Israel who are in range of Hezbollah rockets would pay a huge price. And that's why Netanyahu and other members of the Israeli government, I don't believe, want that. The second thing is, you've heard people like Nikki Haley say that, when Israel was attacked, America was attacked. That is not true. Mm-hmm. Israel was attacked. This was not an attack on the United States. Yes, Americans were killed. There are American hostages, but this is not the same as an attack on the United States. And
I think this is like actually something we would probably find common ground with our Republicans here today. I think most Republicans agree with this. I think this is probably the majority position by like 80% of Americans. We were not attacked that day. And there has been a lot of like media manipulation and political manipulation, not just on the Republican side, but also with the Democrats. People like Chuck Schumer. You saw AIPAC use millions and millions of dollars during the primaries to primary Democratic representatives who might not be willing to just like bend the knee for AIPAC. This should be common. This should be something that most of us agree on. That when Israel is attacked, that does not mean the United States is attacked. That does not mean we are in war.
Point that out, because when you start adopting that mentality, where an attack on every one of our partners or allies or everything bad that happens around the world, that's how you get into situations like we were in the early 2000s with Iraq and other places like that. And I'd also add to that.
That's a good point, Amy. Amy said, I think most of us are pro-Israeli people and Palestinian people. I agree. Hamas bad, Israeli government bad. The people are the real victims.
Like Mike Pence and some other people said, we absolutely shouldn't put boots on the ground in Israel. And I'd point out a lot of Israelis don't want that. Yeah. You had some Israelis like Yoram Hazony.
I was just going to plug that. Yeah, that was
he came out. He came out, and I believe his son did too, who's serving in the Israeli army. Said that would be disastrous. And just finally on this, is it's important to remember we are limited in how we can support Israel right now.
Derek, dude, understand visa paperwork before you say foreigners have the right to free speech. They agree not to be critical of the United States. It's not critical of the United States. Those protests are not criticisms of the United States. They are criticisms of their schools. They're allowed to be critical of their school, are they not? The Columbia protests were saying, hey, we need to divest from Israel. That's it. It had nothing to do with the United States government. So what are you watching, bud? What are you watching? Does it say that you agree not to be critical of Israel? And by the way, I don't think it says that you can't be critical of the United States. Let me look at the exact wording if anybody has it. I'm not sure you're right about that. I'll have to go look.
That is a hard reality that a lot of people in this town have not accepted yet. Because of how much we've given to Ukraine and how much we wore down our military after 20 years of war, we cannot support Israel indefinitely in a long fight in Gaza or in a long fight against Lebanon. That's not saying that, we should demand Israel do this or that. I'm pointing out a reality of our power position right now.
Harvard isn't funded by the United States government. They give grants to departments, but Harvard's not funded by the United States government. And no, fundamentally, no. I don't think any of you understand speech at all. That's a crazy thing to say, that you can't criticize your school because they get funding from the United States. And by the way, I don't think that provision that you're talking about exists. I just Googled it quickly. You can show me the provision, but Google's telling me no, that doesn't exist.
We drew down a lot of artillery and probably some other munitions that we had pre-positioned in Israel and gave it to Ukraine. So as a result, we had to turn some of that around and give it back to Israel, take it back from Ukraine. And eventually, just like we have with Ukraine, where we've run out of stuff to give them, we may find ourselves in that same position with Israel. and it can't be overcome right away by dumping more money into the military-industrial complex. It's going to take years to rebuild the capacity where we can adequately support a partner like Israel in a long fight and also support something like Ukraine and prepare for something.
That's not, Jesus Christ, that's not, I don't think you guys know what moving the goalpost is. I Googled it. That's not moving the goalposts. If you make the claim that on a visa application, you're not allowed to criticize the United States government, just show it to me. Just give me a link. I can't find it.
A fight in China.
Yeah.
It's going to take us years to get to the point where we can adequately do that.
Yeah, that's the thing that Elbridge Colby's always talking about.
Yes.
With those 155 millimeter shells.
Yes.
Simply can't make enough of them to fight 3 wars at the same time.
So Bridge is one of those smart people who I just steal a lot of stuff from. But in all honesty, Bridge and I have probably spent, of the times we've talked over the last year and a half, probably about half those conversations, 155 millimeter artillery shells.
All right. I'm going to close it there. I'm going to go probably a little late today. I just wanted to show that part. I wanted to show that this doesn't seem to be something that is like a 50-50 issue. This seems to be an 80-20 issue where most people agree that we do not need to fight wars for Israel, that Israel needs to stop killing innocent people. And I think most people also agree that Hamas is bad. I'm tired of it's weird that we're still arguing about this, but stripping the rights away from student visa holders because they criticize Israel, I can't believe that we are disagreeing on this. I really can't. And it's also such a bizarre message for the Trump administration because that's not their messaging. Like the last 3 weeks, their messaging has been Israel's not very good. Israel's doing some shit that we don't like. Free Palestine. They're actively negotiating a ceasefire or trying to negotiate a ceasefire. They're actively criticizing Netanyahu. They're actively Trump said, like, what is Netanyahu doing? This type of rhetoric that they're saying, like, is so problematic for Harvard students to say. The Trump administration is mirroring that same stuff. That's why this is so goddamn confusing. Because why now it sounds like they're supporting Trump, but we're still going to get rid of them? I'm very confused by all of this. Valerie, thank you for the donation. RTP for the win, helping finish up. Thank you, Red Fox. I appreciate that. I just want to get into some silliness real quick. This is a guest from Trump's crypto dinner. Now, let me give Trump some credit here. One of the main concerns with Trump's crypto dinner is that we thought that people would be able to pay and sit around and influence Donald Trump. It at least appears that Donald Trump did not sit and talk with people. Now, there was a closed-door meeting for the top, I think, 20 donors that we didn't see, and nobody's really talked about that. But for most of the crypto influencers, they feel like they mostly just got scammed. This is Nicholas Pinto, who spent $480,000 buying Trump's shitty fucking scam crypto coin to go have dinner with the president. And here's what he had to say about it.
If you guys don't know, I was number 72 on the Trump coin leaderboard. It cost me $480,000, and this is all I got at the event.
This hat they gave away to pretty much everyone. They had 220 bags, and that's pretty much all I got.
I just got to the Trump dinner. Trump came, gave a speech for, I think, exactly 23 minutes. And then he left. His helicopter was right back there. Left pretty quickly. Didn't stay for the dinner. Maybe he'll come back. You never know. Anyway, the food's coming out now. I gotta go.
Now, one of the things that's a little questionable is this. This is the presidential seal, and then Trump speaks behind the presidential seal. Now, this was supposed to not be an official event, and that official seal is meant for official events. So, look, if this was any other president, it would be a big story. You guys don't care because you just let Trump run scams. Nothing he does will ever bother you, which has been actually like kind of good for him. Like, he's done so much shitty stuff and he's done so much openly corrupt stuff, and you guys don't care that now when it's like openly corrupt, it's almost sometimes feels like a waste of time to cover it because you guys just will not fucking care. They also got a tour of the White House, which seems bizarre. Amy said Tucker's even concerned Trump is looking corrupt. That's true. Tucker did say that. All right, moving on. So that was the crypto dinner. It appears that nobody got any special favors. Trump just grifted them. He just it ran a Ponzi scheme, and it was a way for him to get more money out of people, which again should alarm everybody. It doesn't seem to alarm MAGA because MAGA is a bunch of people that are like this. This is Duck Dynasty. I think this is the Godfather, right? This is Phil Robertson from Duck Dynasty, who for some reason is a Fox News commentator. And I just want you to listen to, like, this is why we say you're crazy. Nobody stopped him from saying any of the stuff he's about to say about liberals. And it is exactly like my experience in real life dealing with MAGA. Just a bunch of propaganda that comes out in talking points, and none of it is true. Here's an instance of that.
Contrary to what Kamala Harris said, she says, elect me and everything's free. Look.
Did she say that? Did she say elect me and everything's free? No.
Everything's free. Look, everybody can have their own health care. The government's going to finance the whole thing.
She didn't run on universal health care. In fact, that was my criticism of her, is that she should have ran on universal health care, but she wouldn't. Like, this is the type of shit that is so hard to deal with you guys. You don't live in reality. She never said any of this. My biggest criticism of her is he dead? He's dead? How old was this clip? Is he dead? When did he die?
Yeah. I don't know. He died like yesterday or the day before.
Did he really? Oh, May 25th. All right. Sorry, Phil. Well, fuck it. You went out on a dumb note. I'll say that. He died yesterday. Okay, so it's not an old clip. All right, I was a little worried.
It's not going to cost but $30 trillion. I'm offering you the greatest.
And then he made up a number, $30 trillion. Kamala Harris ran on free health care that the government would pay for, and it would only cost $30 trillion. No pushback. No pushback from Neil Cavuto here.
Deal you ever had. Elect me, and everything will be free.
But she's saying that other people who've been getting away with financial murder will pay for it, the rich.
What I'm saying.
None of this happened. Do you see? It's like none of this happened. I'm not going to stop. I don't give a shit. Just because somebody died doesn't mean I'm not going to cover how fucking dumb they were. Sorry, he died dumb. That sucks.
Is that Kamala? I already have health care. It's given to me by God, eternal health care. I'm guaranteed to be raised from the dead. I have.
Guys, you don't need health care. God's got you. Just die. Just die.
Life and immortality given to me by God through Jesus Christ.
People get sick on earth in their human form. So you advise.
The temporary reprieve is not worth it. I'm telling her.
It's not worth it, guys. God doesn't want you to pay for health care. God wants you to just fucking die. Okay? You're really fucking up God's plan if you give people health care. Stop it. Don't even go see doctors. Is that not the same argument? If the argument is you can't fund health care because God has a plan, what are you doing never seeing a doctor anyway? Should we get rid of all doctors? Just die. Just die when it was time for you to die. Yeah, it did not age well. One day later died. Yeah, did not age well.
I have eternal health care, and it's free. Doctors can give you a little temporary reprieve, but they cannot save you from physical death. The doctors who treat you, they die too.
But you're not dismissing that people need health care, right? It's just
I didn't have health care for 50 years, and someone says, now I'm rich and famous, so I said, Miss Kay, you can buy every kind of insurance known to man if you want to. Well, but I never needed it for 50 years, so there you go.
Well,
I didn't have health care, but then once we got rich, we got it. Typical Jesus, just like Jesus taught. Fuck the poor. And if you get rich, you can live longer. You can only go see a doctor if you're rich. But until you're rich, you don't get to see doctors.
It's done you some good.
God said that's enough of you. Ouch. Look, I don't fucking care. Phil Robertson is a fucking bigot. He's always been a fucking bigot. And I feel bad for his family. They lost a loved one. But we're not going to sit here and pretend because somebody died that we're not going to discuss that they were a bigot most of their life. And they're up here advocating that poor people not be taken care of because Jesus has got this. Like, what kind of fucking Christian are you? No. Jesus totally would just say, just let it happen. Yeah, I'm not feeling bad. I don't know how he died. I don't know how old is Phil Robertson? 79 years old. All right. I don't know. Oh, cause of death was not disclosed. Okay, so we don't know. 78. Now, here's then like it's not just him though. Like it's other Republicans. Here's Kilmeade. Listen to Kilmeade talk about like now they're trying to figure out a way to justify the fact that Republicans stole a bunch of money from poor people and then they're giving it to rich people. They're going to steal it from poor, sick people and give tax cuts to rich people. And now listen to how they're spinning this.
Barack Obama made Obamacare and all those states got the free money. And now all of a sudden Medicaid doesn't look anything like it was supposed to, and it's 95% financed by the federal government. It's supposed to be a state program.
State-run program. State-run program. The states run the program. Right? It wasn't supposed to be a state-financed program. The states run the program because states' rights.
The longer we leave it that way, the more permanent that becomes.
Right, because people get addicted to the free money. Let's talk about something.
They're just addicted to it. These people that desperately need Medicaid and Medicare to continue to live. I guess you could say that. Yeah, they're addicted to doctors to live. I guess so. That's how we're spinning it now. You got two multimillionaires up here like, we really need to cut people off because they're becoming addicted to being able to see a doctor. We've got the rest of the world must be laughing at us right now. They must see that and be like, what? Whoa, America, what are you doing? These poor people think that they get to see a doctor? They're addicted. They're addicted to that. Number thought you wanted to debate. Oh, yeah, they're still not going to come up and debate. Here is Mike Johnson talking about, bragging about how they're cutting SNAP benefits and not realizing that this could be a real problem for him in his state. Louisiana, they love SNAP benefits.
We don't want to slash benefits. And again, I make this very clear. We are not cutting Medicaid. We are not cutting SNAP. We're working in the elements of...
I'm so tired of Christians lying to our face. Yes, you are. Your bill cuts $800 billion. Yes, you are. Yeah, Bill, I think over the course of those years. That number might be wrong. I apologize if that number's wrong. Yes, you are. You're absolutely cutting benefits. It says it in your fucking bill. That's why you're on Face the Nation here. You can't say that you're not cutting benefits.
Fraud, waste, and abuse. SNAP, for example. Listen to the statistics. In 2024, over $11 billion in SNAP payments were erroneous. I mean, that's a number that everyone acknowledges is real. It may be much higher than
Louisiana
that,
is like the
but
second
here's the
largest
problem.
recipient
The
of food
states-
stamps in the country, sir. So
Let me explain it, Margaret. Let me explain it. The states are not properly administering this because they don't have enough skin in the game. So what we've done in the bill is add just a modest state sharing component so that they'll pay attention to that, so that we can reduce fraud. Why? Again, so that it is preserved for the people that need.
We got to cut people off so that they'll pay attention. That's what we're doing. We're doing these states a service. We're just cutting off SNAP benefits so that they'll pay attention and they'll start watching it a little more closely. Where's that money going? The cuts. How are you? What are you doing with those cuts? You're offsetting what? Oh, a tax cut for rich people? Oh, okay, got it. Mighty Christian of you, Mike.
Need it the most. This is common sense, Margaret. It's good government, and everybody on
Little
both sides
gentle
of the aisle
parenting.
should agree to that.
Well, Senator.
Now, his state, Louisiana, we
don't want to slash
They
benefits.
have a problem.
And again, I make this.
Louisiana is the second largest recipient. Second largest. So what's his state do? Why doesn't he talk to his state? If there's all this waste, fraud, and abuse, and it's administered by the state, do you see the problem here? They say it's the state's fault because they're giving out money. So what they're going to do is they're going to cut from the state. They're not going to demand that the states have more transparency. They're not going to demand that state by state they have a budget and they allocate the money correctly and that they oversee that allocation and make sure that it's administered properly. Instead, they're just going to generally cut a bunch of money and say states figure it out. That's not even a real argument. I don't know if that 11 billion number is even real. He says everybody agrees on that. If we fact check that, let's see. I was just fact checking it when it was going. Let's see if there's a fact check on it. The claim that over 11 billion in SNAP payments were erroneous in 2024 is accurate, but with some nuance. While the Government Accountability Office reported 162 billion in improper payments for fiscal year 2024, a large portion of this was due to overpayments to deceased individuals or those no longer eligible, not necessarily direct SNAP errors. Okay, yeah, so we just have to have the rolls done correctly. Okay, great. States need to do that. Why cut the funding, though? Why not just force states to do it correctly? All right. Here was JoJo from Jurors. I just saw this in the comments, actually. Here's what she decided to let Mike Johnson know. Louisiana, notoriously good at taking care of their people, ranks 50th in crime and corrections, 50th on the economy, 46th in education, 46th in fiscal stability, 44th in healthcare, 48th in infrastructure, 49th in natural environment, and 46th in opportunity. It's amazing how many of these red states are like, we got to stop getting people off. We got to get people off the government teat. It's like your state is on the government teat always, because all the Republicans in your state keep gutting programs to elevate your lifestyle so they can give tax cuts to their millionaire and billionaire friends. Let me read comments one more time. We'll get out of here. Krisha said, thank you for your lives. Thank you, Krisha. Sorry if I said that incorrectly. Nothing there. Go to Discord. There we at. We were, yeah. All right. All right, we were close, Jen. Jen's going to give me a few lashings, but that's all right. I can take a few lashings. I'm not used to them, or I'm used to them at this point by now. We'll be back tonight at 5:45 Pacific. That'll be on TikTok. Hopefully Amir's internet is... how was it last time, Jen? I never watched the recording. Was it all right?
I think it had moments, but overall I think it was all right.
Okay. So we'll be there tonight from 5:45 till like 9:30 Pacific, or until Jen says shut it down. That's usually what happens. We just go until Jen can't take it anymore. So we'll see how Jen's patience is tonight. And then we'll be back tomorrow morning, every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. To 1 Pacific Standard Time, everywhere that you're watching right now. As a reminder, we do have paid subscriptions. Wherever you're watching right now, we do have paid subscriptions. On the purple one, because I'm learning I'm not allowed to say these names. On the purple one, that allows you to avoid commercials. On the red one, you can't avoid commercials. And on the what color's TikTok? TikTok is there's no commercials there. So we'll be back on all of those platforms, Twitter and Facebook as well. As a reminder, you can catch the replays available on our YT channel. Those are available every day, and make sure to engage with us there. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the cool places. We have merch in the bio, and we have Cameo. I sent out my first Cameo this morning. That was actually fun, so you can check that out if you want me to deliver a message to any of your conservative friends or family members. I'm happy to do it. Other than that, we'll see you here in a couple hours. Take care of yourselves, drink some water, say something nice to yourself, and stay cute and cool, and have a great summer.
Bye.